The shot cuts to Moslif's frontier, where a weathered farmer watches monster hunt streams and memories surge through him. Until 6 months ago, he was trapped in the same relentless routine. Back then, Ocella snapped at Gauche, demanding to know why he was dawdling. Gauche watches the small fry flood out and snaps. Can't be helped, they'll surge on ahead. Someone rushes up to Ellis and shouts that their concurrent viewers just surged past 5,000. SH warns, watch out. Is that a poisoned amoeba? Someone gasped, another snapped. That's a Class C danger level monster, run. Run, someone screams. Gauche declares there's no need to run. Tension explodes as a cellist rakes the bow across the strings, punctuating the exact instant the kill lands. She roared that a hunt stream isn't real unless they actually show it. Chat flooded in backing her, calling her cool and saying it gave them chills. Asalis beams at the chat, pours out a huge thank you to everyone who watched, and ignites hype for the next stream. After the stream, the team tore into the stats. They only peaked at 5,000 concurrent viewers. They won't even claw back what they invested. Someone snaps that it's pulling in far less than expected. A breathless latecomer stumbles in, blurting, "Sorry, I'm late." Someone shouts, "Did this turn into a cooking stream while I was gone?" And others fire back that the jab was too harsh and maybe the projection came off too stiff. Someone blurts that they should have made the content way bigger. The guild master draws wild praise, conjuring fresh stream plans on the fly as the crew hurtles back to the drawing board. 50 years have thundered by since video streaming tech was born and exploded across the world, turning into an effortless, everyday kind of magic. The competitions turned brutal, and they figured that's probably why the guild master's been cranking out ever-wilder challenges lately. The guild master, a cellist, drew his bow and thundered that if the Flame Serpent Guild wants the world's #1 streaming crown, their streams must be flashier than ever. She storms onto the stream, declares she has urgent news for everyone and is sending an announcement. Comments flood in wondering what it is. A cellist tells Gauche she looks unusually serious. She's going to have him leave the guild. Shock hit Gauche like a punch. He demanded, "What on earth are you firing me for?" Someone snapped, "He hasn't got a clue, tell us your story." The room erupts when someone shouts they saw a person stealing the guild's money, and they slam down airtight evidence. They explode with realization. The guild's only greatsword belongs to the old man, every eye snaps to him, and Gauche is nailed as the culprit. They flashed photos from the office last night, but awkward notes sent from miles away don't prove a thing. It's him. The comment section rips him apart, slapping the worst label on him and howling at his panic. A female guild member says he groped her every day. She begged him to stop, but he kept at it, leaving her terrified, and Gauche yells for them to stop. He shouted, "Let go," and bodies collided in a brutal scuffle. Someone declares that daring to raise a hand against a cherished comrade instantly exposes your true colors. Asalis dethrones Gauche, ripping the guildmaster title from his hands and ending his reign. The stream dies, they abandon the ruse, someone grins and asks how their fake crying landed, and the group erupts into triumphant cheers over the perfect setup. Everyone's raving about the stunning footage, and the guild's tech team absolutely dominates. Actors, props, costumes, editing, they've got everything covered. Ghost scrambled to explain himself to the guild master, gasping that it had been too much, and a harsh voice snapped, "Quit whining." Asalis snaps that he's behaving like the guild would suffer if they lost him. "You actually thought you were contributing? Pathetic, you were useless from day one." Gauche swears he's poured everything into supporting everyone, and someone snaps, "Stop trying to look impressive." Gauche barked it was cruel. He'd poured his sweat into the guild because Asalis promised to teach him streaming know-how if he chipped in. Asalis lashes out, "Don't get full of yourself, you've been nothing but a burden all along." Gauche dared to believe he'd at least managed to contribute in the end. The cellist roared that the last stream blasted them past the guild's all-time concurrent viewer record. Asalis erupts with excitement at hitting 8,000 viewers, shouting that big sponsors will be knocking any day now. Comments exploded, raving it was wonderful and daring them to one-up it with the next project. But that 10K wall looms huge. Reflection left them choked up. Now they're fired up to stream again. Later, the farmer launches his stream, introduces himself as Goshu, and welcomes everyone, then bursts into an excited breakdown of why his tomatoes are so sweet. Those tomato seeds were bitter at first, but when farmers scattered stones from the nearby cave into the soil as fertilizer, the fruits exploded into astonishing sweetness. Nyachin explodes into the chat, Gasu fires back a grateful, "Thanks for coming to watch again." And a viewer snorts that it's just a boring old guy doing farm work. The live counter roars 31. 31 viewers are glued to the screen. Gauche admits it's a brutal battle to turn a stream into something truly entertaining. but he refuses to be beaten down. He swore he'd rise as a streamer who set people ablaze with hope, just like the person he admired. Niaochin gushes, it's incredible. His streams wash over her like a balm, calming every frayed nerve. Gosh beams and thanks her for lifting his spirits, when a management notice suddenly blares into view and he raises a hand. Give me a moment. He feels a spark of hope. There are kind people out there, utterly unlike that guild. A blaring warning explodes onto the screen. Explicit scenes could accidentally be streamed. Alarm spikes in Gotch. This kind of thing doesn't happen to bottom-tier streamers like him. But he forces a grin, talks himself into staying positive, jumps back on stream and asks what they were talking about. Out of nowhere, the field explodes into frantic, heart-pounding action. The farmer's gaze snaps to a massive crimson lizard. It reappeared and dread rippled through the crowd when someone cried, "Flame Dragon!" The Adventurers Guild had just labeled it A-class. Comments explode. This is bad and a class threat that needs a special strike team. They shout at the old man, run. A viewer screams it's not the time to worry about vegetables. The farmer roars, don't come closer or the tomatoes will wither. Chaos erupts with people yelling to run into the house. Someone cries, won't a wooden house burn? And a voice spits its over for the old man as destruction follows. Comments explode, calling the old man a legend and shouting he should save his skin instead of fussing over vegetables. The farmer snarls that if the dragon keeps ravaging his field, he won't hold back. They erupt with excitement, shouting they'll sprint off to tell every friend. As the fight rages, the viewer counter blinks 13 on the timestamp, and newcomers, pulled in by the rumors, step in to witness something jaw-dropping. Gasps rip through the stream as a towering flame dragon erupts and the old man utterly dominates it. Someone blurts, "Is this even listed under farming?" Comments erupted as people said they crashed into a flame dragon and scraped out alive, watched a one-hit way to fell it but couldn't land the strike themselves. The action kept unfolding with everyone shouting, "What's going on?" Viewers flagged the movements as unnerving and demanded it be shared more, and the count exploded to 17K. The farmer collapses to his knees, utterly spent, as the extermination finally ends. The dead dragon bursts into view. Panic detonates in Gosh as he spots the stream still running. He jolts to the fact he'd ditched his viewers, blurts a frantic apology, and rips the stream offline. He kicks himself. He should have checked the concurrent viewers, but exhaustion pins him down. He'll handle it tomorrow. A forum thread explodes when someone fires off, "Did you watch Fairy Tube today?" Replies roar, "It was insane," while others just stare, totally clueless what everyone's raving about. Questions explode. Did they just discover an incredible streamer? A listener admits they've been tuning in for a while, and someone proudly declares they've cleared the first stage. Back at guild headquarters, Asali's hunched over her planning board, sketching a razor-sharp strategy, while someone roared that Mr. Gosh is going to become a legend from now on. The comment section explodes. People shout they're watching too, someone sneaking up to surprise him, and we're riding this monstrous wave. They're betting they'll smash five-figure concurrent viewers again tomorrow. The previous stream's peak blasted up to 17,000 the next day. Gotch stares at the sudden spike in viewers, confusion flaring as he assumes it's a glitch, throws out a quick greeting while the chat erupts with first-time watchers, gushes calling him a handsome older guy, and one person apologizing for calling yesterday's stream boring. Gotch chuckles and asks, "Did you all click the wrong stream?" Gotch launches into today's lesson, how to split firewood the right way, while the chat explodes, yelling, "Haven't you realized what happened yesterday?" And one viewer sneers that it's painfully plain. The viewer counter explodes, 5K viewers. Triumphant, Gotch grins, his method proven right. One explosive strike shatters the firewood and a stunned stream comment erupts, gasping at the sheer force behind it. 2 days later in the heart of Moslif, Gosh hands Roy today's haul. Roy beams that the whole village can't stop talking about him. A bystander scoffs, "Is that what being a famous streamer is?" And someone snaps back that most villagers don't even watch streams. A finger jabs at Ghosh as someone snarls he's the one who spread the invite to read news articles about that promising old rookie. And Ghosh steps forward, shrugs, and replies like it's nothing. Villagers rally as one, vowing to support him and declaring their village star has exploded onto the world stage. And Gosh chokes up at the tidal wave of their support. An old man stepped forward and asked for a favor. He tore past the gaping rift, where the flame dragon had blasted forth and saw. Ominous eyes pierced the darkness from deep within. Gosh steps forward, jaw clenched, and agrees to check it out. The old man admits he's been too terrified to set foot near the place, and Gosh vows to investigate while tasking them with guarding the village. If it still breathes, the village hangs by a thread. A voice snaps, "Be careful." Another teases, "All that's missing is a good wife," while someone else grins and points out Ghosh is as dependable as ever. She slammed her palm down and demanded, "Do any of you know a man named Gosh?" She erupted, "I'm your biggest fan," and couldn't hold back. She spilled the one thing she absolutely had to tell him. Someone snaps for her to bolt after him, while another smirks that spring might finally be blooming for Gasu too. Gosha charges to the cave's mouth, muscles coiled and eyes locked, ready to tear into whatever mystery hides inside. She freezes, words strangled in her throat. What am I supposed to say? Even if someone orders her out, Gosh forges ahead with the investigation, snapping that she can't chicken out now. Ghost clenches his jaw, steadies his breath, and vows that as long as he's prepared, everything will be fine. He freezes as his gaze locks onto something strange. They burst out into a vast, wide-open space. They realized it led straight into a cave at last, and plunged deeper into its hungry, echoing dark. Two people pressed through the cave together, their footsteps punching holes in the silence. A viewer in chat rips into Gosh, scoffing that streaming the exploration is a complete waste. Her eyes snap skyward as something hurtles down from above. From above, the stream locks onto the unfolding chaos as a creature erupts from the darkness and launches a savage attack. Shock slammed into Gosh as the creature's razor-toothed maw lunges straight at them. She's caught in the jaws of danger as a desperate hand shoots out. A thunderous impact rocks the scene moments later. Mid the desperate rescue, she bellows Gosh's name like a lifeline, raw and urgent. Gosh's voice cracks with concern as he asks, "Are you okay?" Gosh scoops the female character into his arms and rockets her out of danger. She snaps, "How do you know my name?" Exploding visual chaos engulfs the scene as Gosh unleashes a raw scream during the escape. The massive creature crashes down, defeated. She screams for him to get out now and snaps, "What are you saying?" Gosh snarls he'll fetch it, cursing that he needs somewhere out of sight. She snaps that they've finally got a chance to talk, now's not the time to run. Then flips into panic, yelling, "No, we have to run." Gosh demands, "Who on earth are you?" She beams, "I'm your biggest fan." As the creature lunges again and she screams, "Mr. Gosh." Gosh jolts back, blurting, "You scared me." Then demands, "What are you saying all of a sudden?" She apologizes, voice raw, and swears she can't just run off and leave him behind. Gosh staggers at her steel resolve, and Misery snaps that this is supposed to be an aqua slug, a usually gentle creature, but its body is unnaturally thick, so strikes will probably just glance off. Ghost swears they need a sword to slay it. Misery steels herself and asks if she can count on his cover while she dives for the sword. Gosh thunders he'll protect her with everything he's got. They moved as one, baiting and striking the creature in a brutal, flawless rhythm. Misery drops a bomb, communication magic. Gotch's fingers brush the rune for a communication spell to call for help. Then he clenched his jaw, stifled the incantation, and let the chance die. Misery unleashes a blinding surge of illumination magic instead. The sword flared to life, stabbing a spear of light through the surrounding darkness. Misery's howl ripped through the air, summoning Mr. Goat. They burst out, "Gosh, gosh, thanks," to her. The battle erupts as the creature and its allies lock into a synchronized, crushing assault. Misery throws his head back, whooping that they pulled it off, and it's exactly what you'd expect from him. Gosh snaps its thanks to her. She truly saved them. They vow to slam every hole shut at once, and Gosh growls that leaving even one open could attract other abnormal creatures. Misery zeroes in on the glistening wet path. The fresh, soggy tracks scream Udumal. It's his trail. With the beast felled, Gosh roared that the village could finally rest easy. Misery beams, declaring it's an honor to have helped Mr. Gosh. Gosh nods, praising her sharp knowledge. Misery's smile collapses as worry floods her face. He's hurt. Gosh bears the truth. That jagged mark is an old mercenary scar from his wild young days, and Misery knows it, no doubt. He stands before her as the very person she's idolized her whole life. Weary, she apologizes for forgetting to introduce herself, says he might find it easier to recognize her as Nyochin, then reveals her proper name, Misery Lawnova. Gosh freezes as she spells out how she uncovered his identity and confirms it. He snaps, "How did you trace my location?" Then staggers when he realizes Nyochin has been glued to his streams the whole time. She reveals she cracked it by watching his streams on repeat, and Gosh praises her razor-sharp eye. Misery leans in, eyes blazing, and asks Gosh to team up and launch a streaming guild with her in the royal capital. She begs him, voice cracking, as a cute girl extends a trembling invitation. Episode 2 begins with a recap of the strongest countryside farmer who defeated the highest-ranked dragon. Gosh questions, why a beautiful girl would want an old guy like him for this enthusiastic invitation. Misery feels like she's in a dream. The situation crashes into his lap as Misery hisses that if he studies this document, everything will snap into place. They froze at Gauche's gate, pulse roaring, and Misery snapped. "Come to my place, we'll go through this in detail." At Gauche's house, he barks he'll fetch towels right away, points to a chair and tells her to leave her bags there. Misery nods. Misery's breath hitched. She can't believe she's actually stepping into his house. She snatches the documents and flips through them, eyes darting for any sign of water. Gauche thrusts a towel toward her to dry herself off. She thanks him profusely. The scene slams into focus. She's standing there, utterly pristine. Misery shrugs. "Just call me Misery," ditching formalities. Gauche asks if she has a change of clothes, and she admits she brought none. Talk explodes. Someone urges borrowing from the village woman, warning she'll catch a cold like that. If his clothes are fine, he can snatch them and bolt. She trains nonstop, so she's rock solid. In a blink, she's dressed in Gauche's clothes. Ghost's eyes dart everywhere, frantic. He can't find a single place to look. Memory slams into him. He must spark a fire, and snatches up a crumpled document titled, "The 100 Reasons Why I Should Scout Gauche." Gauche demands to know what this document really is. It lays bare what drew her to him, the secret of the ancient martial art only he can wield, his daring exploits, and the terrifying serpent of the scorching heavens she never knew about. Recent streams strip down his public mask and show his personality, and it even declares his streams have never hurt anyone. Gauche blurts an apology for the stuff in his bag and for keeping her waiting as she hands it over for him to inspect. He even tosses her a pair of pants that swallow her, way too big. But the shirt he gave is enough, and he snaps that she should at least wrap a towel around herself. Gauche rifled through the papers fanned across his table and snapped, "What exactly is this document?" Behind him, Misery's sodden clothes hang over the hearth, steam curling off them as they dry. Misery confesses she's always craved streaming side by side with Gauche, scribbling every pulse of that longing into her notebook. Boom, cut to the Flame Serpent Guild HQ where a herald bellows to the guildmaster, "Visitor, woman." He waves her in, and her face fills the frame as that exact moment slams back into her. She spotted the stream. Misery vowed she'd be brief. She'd come to talk to Gauche Suede, a laid-back cellist offhandedly cooed that Misery was cute and should join her fan club, and Misery shot it down flat. Asali snapped, urgency cutting the air. Where did Gauche go? Where was he heading? Misery's pulse screams. She's already too late. The question comes at her again, but she brushes it off, snapping that the detail doesn't worry her. Asali's flashes a grin and declares to Misery that someone as cute as her would definitely become their top earner. So why doesn't she join the guild? Misery breathed, she sees, then coldly said goodbye, turned to leave. A guild member froze, shock etched across his face. Misery roars she'll never work under a cellist. Another guildmate explodes, accusing Misery of unleashing a non-stop barrage of insults at Lady Asali's the whole time. Misery lashes out, demanding what Asali's problem is, and which one of them has actually been rude, dragging up what they did to Gauche and swearing she'll never forgive them. Asali's keeps her cool and demands, "Who do you think you are, Misery?" As she brings up forgiveness and tension visibly spikes. She snaps that Misery just blurts whatever she wants, and when the glasses-wearing guild member stammers, Asali's cuts her off. She snarled at the idiot, warning him not to flaunt that power to just anyone. Its value is that no one knows it exists. The cellist pivots, accuses her subordinate of overstepping, then dangles a deal. "Join our team, Misery, and I'll hand you Gauche's contact." A voice snaps, "You're an insufferably rude woman." And Misery shoots back, "Fine, I'll call myself Gauche," shrugs, mumbles she's in a hurry, and strides away. She tells herself they'll realize soon just how much talent they drove away. A caption snaps in that this happened afterward, and Misery storms the screen, furious that Gauche's skill and charm went unseen by the world. Back at Gauche's house in the present, Misery thrust the document forward and snapped, "Start explaining from here." Ghost grins, voice warming, "Say it like that and you make me blush," then snaps, "Why are you so interested in me?" Misery leans in, voice electric, and vows that with Gauche she'll turn this into the #1 streaming guild in the world. She presses unnervingly close, breathing on him as she speaks. Weeks later, she bursts with excitement, declaring they'll bolt from here straight to the royal capital and warning his hometown is in rough shape. Tough Misery teeters, her footing giving out, and she topples with a sharp, startled cry. Gauche lunges forward, asking if she's okay. Misery unleashes frantic, repeated apologies. The scene snaps to Misery's arrival. The sky erupts in a sudden downpour. She rushes in, apologizes breathlessly, and pleads for shelter. He trips, a startled shriek ripping out of him, and inside the house Roy is suddenly confronted with the situation. Roy lunges in, asking what's wrong. Gosh, painfully awkward, blurts, "Nice to meet you, Roy," someone snaps. "What kind of situation are you introducing Roy to?" Gosh says he's mostly got the situation now and asks, "So what does Misery want to do?" And Misery shrugs, admitting she'd like to give it a try, of course. Heavy with duty, Gosh weighs his responsibilities. His parents' old fields fall to his care, monsters have been swarming and the villagers are terrified. He turns to Misery and snaps. She should just do what? Whatever she burned to do most. Gosh clenched his fists, searching his heart for what he wanted to do most. Misery bursts out, "My clothes are already dry." Gosh locks eyes with Roy and asks if he can escort Misery to the inn. Roy nods, a decisive yes on his lips. Gosh leans in and asks to borrow the document so he can sleep on it for one night. Misery lights up and agrees enthusiastically. Roy strode with Misery at his side. Misery's mind roiled, desperate to know how it would all turn out. And if Gosh does come, he can already picture the village aching for him the moment he leaves. When he volunteered as a mercenary and walked away before, it threw the whole place into an uproar. Misery grins, pointing out Gosh is wildly popular. Roy concedes his mere presence is a massive help, but he refuses to get into any tit-for-tat with him. A furious voice snaps, "Why the hell are you bringing that kid back?" And Roy scoffs, fires back anyway. Gosh told Misery what he had to. The choice now blazes in her hands. Recognition explodes the moment the cellist appears. Misery gushes to Roy, thanking him. Because of him, she finally had that crucial conversation. Roy beams, congratulates her, then announces it's time to get the feast ready, and someone freezes, baffled. Misery asks about feasts, and the villagers of Moslev swarm to welcome her, pressing food into her hands as a traveler. Someone yells to haul out the meat from the dragon they hunted the other day. The feast erupts, and Misery snaps. Why this sudden celebration? Someone blurts out whether she's underage, and another jumps in, promising to explain the whole situation and urging them to join in too. Time passes. The next morning, Gosh bursts into the barnyard and greets the farm animals with a booming, joyful call. Misery explodes in with a grin, cheerfully greets him, and thrilled to be there, asks if he's organized his thoughts. Gosh beams, "First off, thank you. I've devoured every page of the materials." Ghost met Misery's eyes and said, "I respect the burning passion in you and the relentless drive that fuels you." Misery hangs on his answer as Gosh blurts a single, but Misery's face drains with concern and he snaps, "What do you mean?" And Gosh chokes out, "I can't leave this village." A dread wyvern rips open the sky and someone screams, "That's a dread wyvern." Misery snaps that it's also one of the monsters the Royal Capital's Adventurers Guild just classified as hazardous. And if they're going to fight it, they should stream the showdown. Gosh tosses out a quick apology, says they'll talk later, and orders her to hang back while he takes it down first, muttering that it's smaller than usual. Misery snaps, "Do dread wyverns show up often? What do you mean by usual?" And someone replies flat, "Lately they're here every single day." Shock cracked through Misery as she demanded, "What's going on in this village with yesterday's you tomorrow and everything?" Gotch slams his stream live and the feed pops up. Chat explodes as viewers instantly realize it's happening again today. Someone yells, "Dread wyvern," while another warns only deadly species show up here and the countryside is terrifying. Gosh bursts onto the stream with a surprise drop. He's hunting wyverns tonight. He warns their claws are razor sharp, but they'll only be a real problem if they actually strike you. A viewer shouts, "What do you mean by if they don't hit you?" And Gosh keeps dissecting the wyvern, saying it has no long-range attacks and its huge, repetitive movements are easy to read. Another viewer just scoffs, "Impossible." Villagers surged in, shouting at Gosh, "Hold it right there, we'll handle this." While a viewer stared, stunned, as peasants popped up out of nowhere. The villagers surge forward, insisting they'll prove to Gosh what 6 months of his martial arts training produced. Misery snaps a warning that their stunt is reckless. A viewer pipes up asking for lessons too. Another listener perks up at a cute off-screen voice. Gosh snarls at them, "Don't interfere no matter what they say." The wyvern swoops down with razor talons, and a panicked voice screams, "Watch out." Gotch springs into action, weaving through the wyvern's furious strikes with impossible agility. A stunned viewer gasps, "Is that a farmer dodging a wyvern's attack?" Misery watches, awestruck that Gosh has rocketed this far in just half a year. Gotch lunges back, roaring, "Take that." And a viewer shouts in disbelief at his egg trick, asking if that's really how you're supposed to use one. A crushing blow sends the wyvern plummeting, slamming into the ground with earth-shaking force. The wyvern lay beaten flat as villagers surged together. weapons flashing in perfect sync, and stream viewers gaped, questioning which unit these farmers could possibly be from. Gotch's gaze sears as the villagers surge forward and slam their target down. Boom, the wyvern slams into the earth, hammered by a synchronized barrage of viewer comments until the relentless onslaught pins the beast motionless. Reacher, Roy locks onto an opening and barks tactical intel. The gap in the wyvern's neck armor is its weak point. Misery grins at the downed beast, already tasting tonight's feast of roasted wyvern heads. Gosh flung a triumphant wave at the stream, Misery smiling beside him after the successful hunt. The defeated wyvern sprawls on the ground as awestruck villagers ring it. Stream viewers swarm the chat in wild disbelief and excitement, some begging to become Gosh's apprentice while others clamor to learn his techniques, and people even fire off frantic questions about where this village is. They tracked it down, Gosh shot the villagers a thumbs up and beamed that they're all amazing, and Misery bit into it and shrugged that it was a piece of cake. Later, in a darker moment, Gosh sees his hesitation for what it is: ego. He'd rejected invitations under the guise of others' worry but was actually fleeing the challenge, and the truth slams into him like a punch to the gut. Gotch strides to the front of the gathered villagers, plants his feet, and implores every villager to listen. Gosh bellows his decision. He's leaving this place and racing straight for the royal capital. Misery's eyes snapped wide as his words crashed into her, and she whispered his name, barely louder than a heartbeat. His device screen explodes with live reactions as the villagers rally around him, shouting that everyone watching will back his deepest wish. Others join in with cheers. Gosh thanks them all. Misery reaches out and urges him to go for it. They clasp hands, and the village landscape unfurls behind them as this chapter of his life closes. Misery snaps that Gosh is still live. Gosh's face drains as the realization lands like a gut punch. He locks onto the rising viewer count and the sea of watchers, wills himself to stand tall, and fixes a fierce gaze on every screen tuning in. His finger hovered over end stream, poised to cut the feed again. Then he pulled back and resolved to give a proper goodbye this time. A viewer in chat erupts that this all sounds insanely promising, and Gotch turns to the crowd to declare he's leaving this land to launch a brand new streaming guild, thanking everyone for their support and roaring that he's super excited too. At last ready to depart, Gosh turned to Misery and asked if she was ready. She shot back an eager yes, and together they surged toward the royal capital, the village shrinking behind them. A covered wagon thundered along the dust-choked road toward the royal capital as Gotch blurted, "What's a commission stream?" And Misery explained that once they register with the Guild Association, they'll be able to accept streaming requests from clients, flashing a flyer for dungeon exploration content as an example that made Gotch's eyes light up. Misery dives in, unveiling the second type, planned streams where they build and run their own original content. Those two formats will be their main focus. She fires off the question, has Gosh already registered as an adventurer? He shoots back, yeah, about 15 years ago. Misery practically combusts with excitement, declaring a full-on blitz of monster hunts and exploration streams. She's convinced it'll blow the hype sky-high. Misery says she'd personally devour a stream all about vegetables, and when she looks back at the comments from his previous streams, she can really feel that vibe. Gosha agrees, noting doing the same thing all the time gets stale, so those kinds of variety streams are important too. Gosh grins, eyes alight, telling Misery that with her in the mix they could pull off every kind of stream. He pins his hopes on her, and Misery beams, snapping, "Leave it to me." The mere thought of what she'll do sends a wild thrill racing through her. They thunder toward the royal capital Graham as Gosh's memories flare. Once a simple country farmer, he slayed a top-ranked dragon, the whole world saw his true strength, and now here he is. They barreled into the capital, the massive city unfurling before them. Amid the thrumming streets, Gosh drank it in as the lively pulse tugged at a familiar nostalgia. Someone called out, "For Gosh, it's been half a year after all." They liken him to the sun, a blinding, magnetic force. Walking through the market district, someone points and calls out that the streamer over there is Zuri, who ranked 53rd in yesterday's concurrent viewer rankings for a wrestling match. Voices nearby exploded, buzzing about a live-streamed eating contest flaunting a jaw-dropping, record-breaking prize of 100,000 gold. Misery flashes a grin and asks if Gosh wants to join the watch. Gosh waves the invite off, saying he'll secure them a room and drop off their stuff first, and Misery ribs him, teasing that he really does love streams. Half a year slams back into Gosh's mind. He never so much as mentioned streaming to his old party, and now he's desperate to know how the cellist and the others are faring. Deep inside a mid-tier dungeon on the royal capital's outskirts, pandemonium explodes as adventurers bolt from a colossal beast. One of them screams, "Why is something this powerful even down here?" The beast explodes into attack, and the rear guard team fights desperately to keep the line from collapsing under its relentless, bone-crushing onslaught. The chat explodes, messages pouring in as viewers dissect the Flame Serpent Guild's situation. Breaking news blasts their latest hunt collapsed. Viewers say the guild's been in this slump for about 6 months. One person insists a member wasn't fired back then, but the admins scrubbed the video, and now nobody even knows who's gone. A menacing figure grins, hissing that in the end everyone just wants to see people suffer. Stream data screams that some of their recent streams exploded even bigger than the exile content ever did. A voice cracks into furious disbelief, refusing to accept this now that Gosh is gone. A failed hunt explodes and someone screams, "Wait!" The villain strides forward and declares the monster hunting stream's dead. They'll engineer the next big trend themselves. At the Royal Capital Graham Guild Association reception lobby, a cheerful receptionist beams at visitors as Ghosh strides forward and declares he wants to register a new guild. She acknowledges him, presses a registration form into his hands, and asks him to fill in the required information. Gotch rips through the paperwork, eyes blazing as he dissects every line. The last 2 fields, guild name and base address, sat empty. Neither chosen, and hesitation seized him because he didn't know what to do. The receptionist waves him off with a warm smile, saying, "Take your time. When you decide, come back anytime." Gotch planted himself at a desk in a room that looked like a library or research area, Misery standing close by. A man sidles up to them, every step wary, and murmurs, "Are you a fan of Ghosh?" Misery's eyes snap wide. She blurts, "How did you know?" He winces, apologizes for yelling, and says it's because of his job. He's glued to streams and stumbled onto Ghosh's, broadcast the exact moment the viewer count exploded. Weiss raves about the Flame Dragon subjugation stream, declaring it stole his heart with its fluid movement, unshakable composure, and electrifying freshness. Someone nearby yells at him to be quiet. Ghosh confesses he couldn't stop replaying it on loop. Another person jumps in, saying they know exactly what he means. Weiss throws out a lifeline. "Ask me for anything I can help with," and Ghosh nods. "I'm counting on you." Him pressed about where the guild should set up. Gosha shrugs and admits he hasn't picked a location yet, and Weiss pipes up that he lives out in the suburbs too. He touts one property like a secret weapon, insisting it's perfect for the guild and that Gosh's members will start growing from here on out. The receptionist leans in, promising the association can line up introductions if needed, and Gosh exhales, eyes gleaming with gratitude for the massive help. They buzz about the lovely property. The receptionist confirms they can view it right away. Gosh erupts with enthusiasm, and the receptionist says she'll make the arrangements and asks them to wait outside. Outside, Weiss, a female streamer, blasts her live broadcast onto the Beautiful Girl Discovery channel. On the channel, the chat explodes with hype. A newcomer pipes up there, a first-timer who heard they'd see beautiful girls. The viewer count sits at 317, and Weiss grins. He's got a little trump card today and aims to outdo his usual. He locks onto Misery and calls out, asking if the little blonde kitten has a minute. She reels in surprise as the camera zeroes in on Misery's blonde hair and blue eyes. The viewer count rockets to 4,022 as comments flood in. Someone thanks the stream for showing exactly their type. Another says their heart is beating so fast, and others praise Weiss for his boldness in approaching such a beauty out of nowhere. Weiss gushes over Misery, calling her an angelic fairy who fell into the human world, and someone nearby remarks the heavens have begun to mingle with this realm. Weiss grinned, tossed out his name, and asked hers. She said Misery, and he couldn't help crowing that even Misery sounded cute. Gotch steps forward to introduce himself. Weiss smirks and says he just happens to have something on him. Someone asks when that person will arrive. He whips out a stack of tickets. Misery snaps, "What are they?" Weiss slams the tickets down and beams, announcing they're for Chartra, the royal capital's high-class restaurant famed for its breathtaking night view. Then adds that even the famed songstress Melvis sometimes drops by as the scene reveals the restaurant's opulent interior humming with hushed elegance. Fear tightens its grip as Weiss leans in, telling Misery that defying the fate the gods have welded them into would be crass. So why not pull up a chair and dine with the gods? She recoils at the idea of going with him. Gosh leaps in and offers to go instead, and Misery snaps she'd never ride with some old man. An armored titan erupts, snarling, "What the hell is Gosh and when did he get here?" Misery stays ice cold. "I've been here the whole time," and the others step up to confirm it. The angry character roars at Ghosh to get away from Misery, and Ghosh pleads, trying to calm the situation down. The character lashes out at Ghosh, accusing him of plunging into that papakatsu mess everyone's been buzzing about lately. He insists there's no way an angel like Misery would be hanging out with some old dude otherwise. A stream comment notes, this took an unexpected turn. Misery snarls, those drawn weapons are deadly. Danger loomed, Ghosh froze the chaos with a cool command. Leave it to me. He snapped for them to sheathe their swords, too many witnesses talk it out, and sneered, scared. The attacker roared that, even so, he was a B-ranked venture in Graham's royal capital, and he smirked, utterly certain he'd nailed his strike. Someone's eyes snap wide as Ghosh moves like lightning. His blow slams home with thunderous, bone-jarring force, sending the attacker crashing into the dirt. The ghost swoops in, voice raw with concern, and asks, "Are you okay?" That day, a guttural groan rips from the attacker as pain scorches through him. Somehow his strike slammed into the wrong person, and the crowd screamed he wasn't done yet. As the situation continues, the attacker gropes to grasp Ghosh's movement, swinging frantically but never landing a blow. Chat explodes as viewers recognize the fighter. Someone cries, "Great sword, old man." The viewer count ticks to 5291, and another asks if this is a famous streamer. The attacker roared he'd save Misery no matter what, and Ghosh, cool as ice, cut him off. "That's enough, will you listen now?" Now the attacker finally yields, relenting as he agrees. Ghosh thrusts out his hand, offering reconciliation. Ghosh roared and slammed down his dragon hammer, the thunderous strike pulverizing his foe and ending the fight in an instant. The attacker staggers from the impact as a ring of people surges in, checking on him, yelling, "You okay?" and urging him to breathe slowly. Ghosh's gut knots as dread creeps in. What if every strike he lands hits harder than he means? Ghosh snaps that it's not the relationship the attacker imagines, declaring Misery his crucial partner as they gear up to launch a streaming guild. The attacker takes it in and accepts. Tension shatters when they spot the weapon on the ground. It's just a replica sword. Misery's relieved smile bursts out. Ghosh wasn't hurt either in the exchange. After the showdown, people buzzed and pieced it together. The streamer had been guarding the city under the cover of a pickup stream, his viewers cheering him on, so they figured he was a good guy. Someone spots him drop something and cries, "I'm sorry, I couldn't catch you in time." They swarm the dropped item and discover a ticket. With the owner already vanished into the crowd, they vow to hand it back the next time they see him. Later, Ghosh and Misery exploded into a wild, drink-fueled celebration. They cling to their shared misery as she lights up about the wonderful place they were introduced, then says once she gets the key tomorrow she'll have to race out and buy a mountain of stuff, and Ghosh grimaces that since it's so far from his house, he'll have to move. Misery's eyes fly open. She's just realized they still don't have a guild name, and Ghosh's face crumples in shock because he'd been sure everything was finished. They kick off a wild brainstorm of guild names, and Ghosh flashes a grin, pitching a slick, something of something format as the solid choice. Misery hurls out a proposal, something like the Great Serpent of the Blazing Heavens, and Ghosh falls silent, eyes sharpening as he considers it. Rumbling stomachs hijack the discussion. They shove the debate aside, dive into the food, and vow to settle it after the meal. Misery suggests they each whip up a few words later and plug them into that formula, and Ghosh's face brightens. He's all for it. They're both reveling in it, faces alight with pure joy. Someone bursts out that it's the first time they've ever gotten this hyped about a stream and how fun it is, and the other laughs, saying they're having a blast too. They ate while Misery's mind raced. Watching Ghosh had sparked an idea, but the perfect phrase kept slipping away. She begs him to look into her mind, breath caught as Ghosh's surprising kindness and warmth wash over her. Misery locks eyes with Ghosh and says she always thought he was like the sun, warm, blazing, impossible to look away from. Ghosh waves the praise away as overblown, but still offers a heartfelt thank you. He chews on the comparison to the sun, turning it over in his mind. Misery asks, "What's wrong?" A bright idea strikes Misery. She throws out Golden and christens it Golden Sun. Ghosh beams, saying they like it, and it feels like a hint of bright days ahead, and they burst into another raucous celebration. They sealed the guild's name. Empty beer mugs litter the table like battle trophies. Empty bottles and confetti proved they'd been celebrating. Misery clenched Ghoshtal at the thought of calling it a night already. She protested, desperate to keep talking. Ghosh declares he'll sprint off to settle the bill, telling her to sip some water and wait right here. Ghosh polishes off his meal, thanks the establishment with a curt nod, and a cold nod of dread tightens. Can Misery really make it home in her condition? He bursts back in, breathless, and blurts, "Sorry I kept you waiting." Misery slumped over the table, utterly knocked out. She's sleeping soundly as Gosh carries her into the inn. The receptionist welcomes him back, and when he urgently asks for another room, the receptionist apologizes and says they're fully booked for today. Gosh's stomach drops as he realizes he should have asked where her house was earlier, and the innkeeper offers to arrange for his companion to stay in his room if he'd like. The ghost scrambles for words and blurts, "There's only one bed in my room." Misery crashed onto the bed, stone cold and out from drinking too much. A classic setup. Then the tale snaps back to the night before, when after slaying a top-ranked dragon, the strongest countryside farmer tore off his quiet mask and revealed his true power to the world. What was supposed to be a quiet night alone at the inn exploded into a wild, two-person evening when a cute, drunk girl staggered through the door. Golden Sun's first stream chapter explodes to life as Gosh drags the heavy misery of his past toward the bathroom. In the room he mutters, "Does she have any sense of caution at all?" Stress carves his features and an internal war rages as he fights to handle the situation. Silence slammed into the room, tension crackling in the air. Ghost clamps down on panic, forcing himself to repeat he's just an old man beside such a young girl. Misery lies there, still drunk and motionless. Happily rattles off every comment on something with a grin, while Gotch grits his teeth and clamps his composure shut by sheer willpower. She folds into a prayer-like pose. Finally, Misery drifts into a peaceful sleep as Gosh whispers good night and darkness sweeps the room. Morning slams in and Misery jolts awake, reeling from a savage hangover. Her head swam as the truth slammed into her. She'd drunk way too much. Misery stumbled into the room, dazed and baffled about where she was and why Ghosh stood there. Then the truth struck her like a lightning bolt. She greets him awkwardly in the morning, snaps into a dramatic bow, and then Misery prostrates herself on the ground, begging and choking out frantic apologies for the trouble she caused him. She snatches the guild paperwork, insisting she'll handle it so Ghosh can finally rest. Lost in chatter, she hadn't even thought about him, and Ghosh snaps he won't let her do everything. Misery hounds him until he caves and surrenders to rest. At the Guild Association office, registration wraps up and they burst into a flurry of eager greetings. The staff grills them. What kind of streams are they planning to do from now on? Misery declares she has one question, whips out an S-rank dungeon exploration application form, and the staff member reels back in stunned shock. They warn the freshly minted guild won't snag exploration clearance for that spot right away, and Misery pleads, voice shaking, that somehow a strong start is make or break for this kind of venture. The staff swears they'll pull out all the stops negotiating with the Guild Association president, and Misery leans in to drop one more thing she wants them to tell him. Later. I crouched outside Graham at the Misery residence, pulse hammering as danger crept closer. Someone blurts, "Will your family be all right with you moving at a moment's notice?" Misery shoots an apologetic smile, hastily explains she only lives with her older sister, who's hardly ever home because of work, so she'll call her later and scrambles to pack up right away. Gosh's jaw drops. Misery's life is his mirror. She's holed up alone, grinding out streams and standing as the lone agent in her whole area. Misery slams down an intricate roadmap, declaring it's the route Golden Sun must take to reach the top, and Gosh's jaw drops at the insane level of detail. Ghost clings to the hope they'll make it to the top. Misery snaps back, brimming with fierce confidence. "We can do it." She says watching Gosh's streams lit a fire in her. She studied every frame and mimicked his moves to get stronger, but the greatsword fought her with every swing. Gosh pleads to wield a sword. She snatches up a rapier instead. He asks if she'd like him to train her the same brutal way he drills the mausoleum people. Misery leaps at the offer, shouting a fierce, eager yes. They stormed into their new base, and Gotch slammed a fist on the table, roaring, "As of today, this is our headquarters." A colossal building looms, its cavernous dining hall, and a sprawling yard yawns open, theirs to plow and plant into thriving rows of crops. Private rooms are everywhere, and anxiety claws at Misery as she murmurs, "For the base of the world's best guild, this place is shockingly modest." Her pulse rockets, dread claws at her as she wonders if they're really allowed to use it. Gotch snaps, "What are you talking about?" Then barks, "Get fired up and get ready," and she shoots back an enthusiastic yes. 3 days later in the guild dormitory office, Ghosh is on the phone with Roy, apologizing for dumping all the fieldwork on him. Roy waves it off, vows he'll handle everything, then drops the news he just heard from Ms. Miser. A rank adventurer stormed in and single-handedly subdued the monsters, then said they were planning to send teams to Moslev to investigate the creature's ecology. A gasp explodes at the other end, shock and electric excitement crackling through the line. Roy snaps, "What's going on?" Misery was mid-shower when the news made her squeal. Roy's face went pale as he realized Gosh lives with her, and a video call explodes on screen. Misery, wrapped only in a towel, scrambles and cries, "Don't look. Why am I not wearing clothes?" While Gosh sighs, "I can't help the situation." They tore into their streaming strategy. Gotch jumped in, saying he wanted a stream that would hit like a bomb, and asked about that S-rank dungeon exploration permit from earlier. Today's streaming battlefield explodes. Creators worldwide flood the feeds, and to break through the chaos they must craft projects that grab attention and force viewers to notice them. Lose that interest and the funding dries up, shutting the whole operation down. Misery note, crushed by pressure, some guilds gladly unleash chaos on anyone in their path. Gotch snaps, "I'm not like that." Misery explodes with excitement, declaring they'll pull in viewers with laid-back, worry-free streams anyone can enjoy. Misery cuts in, voice sharp. What drove Gosh to throw himself so completely into streaming? He declares this matters to him. She whirls to him and fires, "Do you know a streamer named Melvis?" Gotch nods and says he does. Gosh's memory snaps back. He flashes on her hauling him to safety. She saved him when he was still in the Adventurers Guild. He sighs, no requests again this week. His eyes snag on a help-wanted poster for a dungeon subjugation mission. While his friends swarm into flashy streaming guilds, Gosh refuses the spotlight and ends up stranded, alone. He finally mustered the courage and joined the blazing Sky Serpent, hailed as a monster-slaying adventurer, only to be sidelined, barely ever sent on a hunt. He spent his days chained to endless, soul-draining chores. Then the call came. His parents were gone, and he crumpled beneath a tidal wave of grief. Right then, he stumbled onto her live stream. A singing voice pierced his heart. Gotch watches, eyes locked on the scene, utterly spellbound. After that, Gosh tuned into her streams every day. He felt the truth. Her singing pulled everyone close and healed them, and before he knew it, he was utterly hooked. He burned to stream like her, to forge something that could seize and move the people watching. He tried learning from her streams, but it kept falling flat, and his lone solo stream flopped too. Misery tells it from her side. She burns to make the charming shine brighter and thrill every crowd, but a hollow claws at her. That's when she found Gosh. He beams, thanking Misery for calling him charming, and Misery snaps that starting tomorrow she'll unleash his charm on the masses. The next morning hits, Misery admits she's trembling with nerves, and Gosh snaps that if she stays like this he'll get nervous too. The moment hits and Misery smirks, "About time." As the stream fires up, Gosh booms, "I'm Gosh Crossner." Misery answers, "I'm Missouri Iverna." Then she announces that she and Gosh launched a streaming guild called Golden Sun, and today is their very first unforgettable stream. The stream goes live and chat explodes. Comments flood in asking who the beautiful girl is and marveling at how many people showed up for a new stream. First-time viewers wave hello. The viewer counter rockets to impressive numbers. Someone screams that he's the great sword old man. Others point out another new streaming guild has popped up. There have been a lot of these lately. Misery panics, shouting to Gosh that it's bad because viewers are skyrocketing at twice the normal rate. But Gosh steels himself and decides to stick to the plan for now. He slams the mic and announces they'll unveil their guild. A comment explodes begging to know more about Missouri, and Missouri steps up to proudly recite their guild's motto. Misery hoists a banner only to hold it upside down, the letters a scrambled mess. The stream erupts in confused chatter, and someone blurts that the blonde beauty's a total klutz. Somehow that's treated like great news. Misery pours out frantic apologies as the crowd roars for her to reverse it. Viewers were glued to the screen. Someone cracked that the banner donor had a fishing rod face, and when they finally hoisted it right, the banner boldly proclaimed their mission, bringing smiles to everyone watching their streaming guild. Gosh bellows he'll storm to the top of the streaming guild and put smiles on everyone's faces. The chat explodes with praise. Someone types, "I'm already smiling, thanks." While others can't wait to see him grow, fans beg for a greatsword old man swordsmanship class. Some shout for an A-rank dungeon run, and others laugh at doing that right away. And Gosh, unimpressed, calls it half-hearted as he steers them toward planning the next stream. The next day, they thunder up to the grand main gate, and the crowd falls silent as every eye snaps to their approach. Two adventurers step forward and confirm they're members of Golden Sun. The taller declares himself Ober, their guide, and his companion introduces himself as Sigrid. Whispers ripple as bystanders question if they're actually kicking off the new guild with a live-streamed S-rank dungeon exploration. One voice mutters, "I'm not interested in a casual relationship." The ghost reels as the escort's words land like a cold blow. Obert flashes a grin, offers a quick apology, and declares that despite how they look, They're an S-rank and an A-rank adventurer, respectively. Top-ranked adventurers shoulder the duty of guiding and supervising, and only a special key can throw open the dungeon. Aubert barked, "Come on, get in." They whooped and leapt aboard. They step up to the yawning, crystal-lit maw of the S-rank dungeon, the Azure Crystal Cave. A colossal magical seal scorches the gateway, pulsing with raw power, while a voice cracks with worry for Amasic Alaif. Life surges, the moment crackles so fiercely you can feel it in your bones. At the entrance, a voice snapped, "Here they go," and the escorts barked their final orders. They'll wait outside for the stream, eyes peeled. If Gaussian misery reaches the dungeon's deepest pit, the escorts will surge in to drag out the spoils, but if they die, the escorts will simply turn back, offering a curt "see you later." Later, other adventurers huddled, buzzing with shock. One gasped, "It's only a C rank. How did those guys snag exploration permits? Are they secretly prodigies?" Someone blurts he streamed it just the other day, and another spits that they're all going to end up as corpses. The conversation erupts as someone yells that Gosh single-handedly tore through 5 flame dragons during that stream. A nearby onlooker crowed that the Adventurers Guild was practically salivating to see what this guild could pull off. Gauche and Misery plunge into the dungeon's depths as the great sworded old man strides out toward the top. Misery from Golden Sun beams into her stream, announcing there at the Blue Crystal Cave. Chat explodes. One fan cries out about the famous cave while another sneers, asking if conquering it will really be that easy. She kicks off her unforgettable first stream from an S-rank dungeon that sends everyone trembling. The kindly old man paces with nervous hands. Missouri's month-old analysis unearthed a colossal monster in the cave's deepest abyss. Chat explodes as she dives in alone. The live viewer counter rockets past 20,000 while someone shouts that the pressure's about to snap. The male character, and Misery close in on the monster's true identity. 5 blood wolves materialize. A voice warns one alone is B-class, but in a pack they spike to a class or worse. Chat panics, asking if 5 of them spell disaster. The episode title blazes across the screen. The Great Sword Old Man's rampage begins. And the narrator reveals the strongest is an old man from a rural farm who, after slaying a top-ranked dragon, finally unleashed his true power to the world. Ghost cracks a grin, boasting he's tangled with wolf types before and can handle this. Someone hollers, "Good luck." Misery locks her gaze, razor-focused. She admits she's been chasing the chance to see Gauche forever. And now, staring at him up close with no screen between them, it feels like she's stepped into a dream. She shouted to Gauche, begging him to stand tall and believe in himself. She slams the truth down. His strength is real. Ghost rips his weapon free, locks onto the blood wolves, then rockets into the fight. He became a blur, shredding through a pack of wolves all at once. Gauche slams his technique into being, summons 4 gods, the origin of the circle, and the attack detonates with devastating force. Wolves hurtled outward in every direction as the clash ended in an instant. The defeated pack sprawled across the cave floor. He collapsed to the floor and the stream chat detonated, viewers blasted. What just happened? What fighting style was that? Missouri whooped, "Gosh, you took down 5 at once." And chat buzzed they'd never heard of that technique. Missouri pushes her glasses up and steps forward to break it down, revealing the 4-god circle origin style as an ancient martial art once believed to be wielded only by beastmen. Chat erupts, chanting, "Missouri sensei, explain," and gushing over how cute she looks in glasses. A voice snaps that no beastman should be able to pull off that technique right now. Another's eyes go wide as they realize it's the secret behind Gauche's lightning-fast agility and brutal strength. When asked how he acquired that legendary martial art, Gauche just shrugs and says he was hunting a morning workout video when he crashed into a beastman's martial arts tutorial. He practiced those moves every single day to fix his health, and then he nailed them. Chat erupted while the other characters stood frozen in shock. Shock explodes as Gauche simply declares he did it. The hooded figure, stunned, admits they couldn't even master it. The chat blows up, calling it a cheat and crowning a genius. Someone yells it's a martial art even Grandpa could replicate, and the others urge the hooded figure to ask Gauche to teach them. Sensing they probably won't refuse, the hooded figure throws on a cool act, drawling, "Maybe if I feel like it," and someone snaps, calling them out for not being honest. Misery leans into the stream, fired up, declaring the viewers might catch all kinds of wild techniques after this, so get hyped and look forward to it. Deeper in the cave, after smashing through wave after wave of monsters, someone shouted that there were way too many, and Gauche, chest heaving, grinned that he'd already put down about 50. "Let's take a breather." Missouri froze, eyes snagging on an odd detail. Gauche snapped, "How far have we come?" And she shot back, roughly 2/3 of the way. He leans in, voice urgent, What's wrong? Missouri jabbed a finger down the corridor and snapped. That room up ahead isn't on the map. Someone warns that some rooms slip past analysis, and those are the ones that hide treasure chests. They step into the secret chamber to find a massive chest dead center. Chat explodes. Ghosh blurts, "Can I just open it?" And Missouri says people can take whatever they find in the dungeon, especially since he's being streamed. Chats exploded into cheers as Gotch hurled open the chest to reveal a jar pulsing with light. Missouri leaned in, declared it a glimmer bug, noted the glow, and asked, "Is it a living creature?" She grins and declares it's a spirit you can take with you, a living lantern to light your path. Gotch's jaw drops as awe crashes over him at the discovery. Gotch declares to Missouri, "I'm counting on you." Missouri was floundering without a lantern, choking out an apology as she admitted she never expected an unexplored dungeon to be this pitch black. Gotch's breath hitched as the glimmer bug's glow sliced the darkness, painting her surroundings in sharp, unmistakable relief. A titanic swarm of crystalline monsters explodes into view before them, and Chat staggers back, jaw dropping at the roaring sea of enemies. Steel bats erupt from the swarm. Someone blurts that a greatsword is overkill for this, and another Chat member snarls there's no point in running now. Now Gosh snaps at Mizorita to keep her distance for a while. She agrees. He pleaded with her to stay at his side and light the path ahead. Gotch plants his feet, coils into a battle stance, and bellows the name of his technique, God's origin of the circle. He unleashes the falling leaf water slash. The strike cleaving through a cluster of steel bats in a heartbeat. Chat erupts into a frenzy, and someone claiming to be the Lord of Marbu asks if Ghosh will join their night order. Viewers erupt, yelling the speed is impossible. This isn't normal greatsword pace. Gosh forces himself forward, grit blazing, determined to finish the battle. Missouri leaps into explanation mode again, asking if the technique moved too fast to follow as Chat goes wild. Fans crowing she's explaining. Someone points out nobles would pounce to recruit a talent like that, and Missouri breaks the technique down step by step. As she explains, a storm of slashes erupts. She paints the first as a crushing downward strike from above, then lashes out with a savage upward slash. She keeps pointing out a slight tweak, then rips into a slick right upward slash, marveling that Ghosh can pull off those technique moves at breakneck speed with a hulking great sword. And the Chat erupts, yelling she's talking a mile a minute. A clumsy moment shatters the room into awkward silence. Gosha blurts an apology and someone snaps, "Stop, it's embarrassing." Gosh bellows to Misery in alarm, panic tearing through him. And while Misery's guard drops, crystal creatures surge forward, swarming straight toward Misery. Chat snaps, urgency ripping through the air. "Run, get out now," he hurls at her. Missouri storms into action. He battered back the swarming steel bats, strikes landing in a savage blur. Combat kicks off. Chat chimes that Missouri's a powerhouse too. Viewers erupt, crowning the duel maybe the strongest. Missouri flushes, protesting she was in the middle of explaining. Gosh asks if she's okay. She insists she's fine. Someone in Chat gasps that Missouri actually has to fight. Gotch roars that it's still dangerous and orders them to turn back now. Missouri scoffs, insisting there's absolutely no problem at all, Missouri points out. She belts out that concurrent viewers have surged to 76,919. She reveals Gosha is training her. Chat explodes, crowing that direct instruction must be amazing. Misery confesses the stream's whole point is to snare attention. Gosh growls that getting her back alive is the only thing that matters. Someone snaps at Ghosh. "You mustn't get hurt. If things get tough, pull back without hesitation." And Ghosh nods, brushing the warning off and insisting there's nothing to worry about. Misery panics, getting swept up in the moment again, realizing she's left everyone behind and asking if they should double back to the stream now. Chat snarks that this has already become a regular occurrence. The crew barrels into a critical choke point. Past this lies the dungeon's deepest maw. Chat erupts. Buzzing that they've actually reached the bottom, viewers roar that they're already 2 in today's concurrent rankings. Someone bets they'll snag 1, and another notes D. Melvis still hasn't streamed today. Gotch and Missouri storm into the final area. They plunge into a dazzling crystal chamber, light exploding off every glittering facet. Someone gasped at the breathtaking scenery, declaring this view alone would make the stream explode in popularity. Gosh's gaze snapped to something across the chamber. Right at the heart of the room, a colossal beast sprawls in deep, thunderous sleep. Gosh spat, flame dragon, and he and Missouri gaped up at the blazing titan. Night, the Chat erupts. Veterans reassure first-timers, bragging it's no match for the greatsword old man. Some shout victory and joke about going to take a bath. Others warn it's a Class A monster. The confident crowd just tells skeptics to sit back and watch. Someone snaps to finish this quickly, and Gosh edges forward with measured steps, reluctance knotting his gut. He can't bring himself to hunt a defenseless creature, even if it's a monster. He closed the distance, and Ghost's gaze snagged on a disturbing sight. The dragon's neck bulged, grotesquely swollen. He shrugged it off as crystal glare. Then the truth slammed into him. The creature's skin and its flames burned a fierce, living blue. The dragon's eyes snapped wide open, and Misery screamed, "Ghosh, get away from there." The chat erupted into a frenzy of panicked messages. Someone snaps, "Why did Gosh get close enough to wake it?" The dragon erupts into view, scales blazing and jaws bared. Misery snarls that this isn't just a flame dragon. Chat explodes, shouting they definitely shouldn't have woken it up. The creature towered to its full height, and Misery snapped, "It's a flame dragon subspecies." Ghosh demanded, "What does subspecies mean?" Misery snaps that, despite their similar appearances, they're actually separate species with clashing ecologies, and no official source has ever confirmed a flame dragon subspecies. She snaps that identical bodies should move the same, then throws down a crucial split, flame versus fire types, admitting she's only working off probability. Gosh's jaw unclenched. A sharp, curt nod answered her explanation. A massive dragon towered over them, its shadow swallowing the sky, and Gosh, unnervingly calm, shrugged and said, "Probably not a big deal." Someone snaps, "Deal?" Another scoffs. "What even counts as a big deal?" Gosh studies it and spits, "If it moves like a dragon, it's a big deal." The stream chat erupts. Viewers argue dragon-like looks don't mean dragon-like motion, and Missouri, lauding Gosh's flawless Great Sword God combo, admits they still don't know the creature's actual ecology for sure. The dragon storms into view, its heavy footfalls rattling the ground. Gosh yells positions, hauling everyone over, and he snaps for Gosh to join them while urgently ordering Missouri to hold her position. The dragon erupts into a torrent of flame. Gosh locks onto the blast, measures its short reach, and bides his time until the beast's breath runs dry. He closed the gap in one explosive lunge, but the flames kept surging and surging. Gosh registered it had been burning far longer than he'd expected and clung to the desperate hope it would end any second. Misery suddenly bellows that the flame probably won't stop and rips into a razor-sharp breakdown of its mechanics. It spews fire without pause, so it's inhaling constantly. Its body is built to breathe and burn at once. A flame sack hooked to its lungs that turns every inhale into ignition. Gotch unleashed his technique, roaring butterfly waltz. As the livestream exploded and viewers, electrified, named it the Four Gods' bound source, an axe style refashioned to fling a greatsword like a boomerang, just like Surgash. The spinning attack ripped through the air, crackling with electricity, and the situation exploded into chaos. Gosh's eyes snapped to his empty hand. His sword still hasn't come back. Yet Missouri bellowed, "Gosh, slam your eyes shut." She hurled a blinding flash that flooded every corner with searing light. When the glare fades, Misery bellows, "Now's Gosh's chance." Ghosts surge forward and unleash a devastating strike on the creature. The chat explodes into a roar of praise. Viewers shout compliments for Missouri, hailing the brilliant combination play between her and Gosh as the feed pulses with electric approval. Missouri admits she paused for a heartbeat, picturing how it would play out, then confesses she dropped her guard, mistaking the opponent for someone she was used to fighting, and shame sears her. It wrapped up unscathed, and Gosh's first stream exploded into a massive, roaring success. Gosh snaps thanks to. Missouri blurts, "Wait, didn't I spot Gosh greeting the sparklebugs earlier? Can he actually talk to them?" Gosh lunges to answer, then slams on the brakes and snaps, "No, not at all." Gosh boldly declares his view. Spirits are living beings, so he bares his heart and tells them exactly how he feels. Missouri fixes him with a thoughtful stare. Missouri's eyes light up. "That's a wonderful way to think," she says, then snaps that most people treat spirits as nothing more than common tools for magic to bend. Magic ignites the room. Missouri lights up with excitement and vows she'll be kinder to the spirits. A viewer in chat cheers they'll do the same, and another credits the spirits for even letting them watch the stream. Someone's eyes widen as they spot the spirits, suddenly radiant and humming with joy. Another voice snaps in agreement. Then a sudden attack rips through the group, sending everyone tumbling and scrambling. Someone screams as they're hurled around, and the impact blasts characters flying. Misery snaps, "Gosh, are you okay?" A panicked voice screams, "That was way too close." Gosh forces out, "I'm fine." Someone yells the entrance is sealed. Gotch snaps it'll be quicker to cleave it with his sword than haul it away. Then a cold voice scoffs, "Do you really think you can shatter a mountain of crystals with that?" A titanic creature towers out of smoking ruin as Gosh growls he just needs a heartbeat to summon his strength for the coming fight. Misery says she's setting something down, and Gosh nods, thanks her, and swears he'll be counting on her. Two small figures plant themselves before the towering beast, locking eyes and snapping their next move into place. Missouri stares down what stands before them. A crystal golem bursts into view. Is this the giant monster's true form? The stream chat explodes as viewers shout that crystal golems are an ancient species, and exactly what you'd expect from an S-rank dungeon, while one fan pleads that Gosh's sword can shatter it. Elsewhere, an old man watches the situation spiral, decides it's time to jump in, and roars, "Wait!" With the exit like that, if they can't handle it themselves, it'll be too late. He roars at Stumpkun, "Hang in there." Gosh's eyes snap across the chaos, calculating every risk. They don't have time to secure a retreat. They must rip this thing apart to escape. Can he still throw down while protecting Misery? Misery rockets to her feet and declares she'll fight too. She refuses to be a burden. Gotch gasped as thoughts ricocheted in her head and cold fear clawed at her. He had to snare the golem's gaze and finish this fast. Missouri clamps down on focus, but her thoughts scatter and heat floods her cheeks as Gosh edges his face impossibly close. The golem shudders and lurches into motion, its stone limbs grinding with every thunderous step. Gosh barks, "Jump left." Missouri springs left without hesitation. He snarls that she mustn't force an attack and must focus on dodging, and Missouri snaps back that she understands. A colossal golem fist slams into the earth as they hurl themselves out of its path. Missouri shouted to Gosh. He fired back, "It's okay, but at this pace they'll be overrun." Missouri snaps that every golem hides a core that anchors its body, and the crystal golem's core sits in one exact spot. Someone zeroes in on it, no doubt about it, that's me. Gotch snaps, "I understand." The golem slams into him, he reels from the blow as they spiral through the air and someone screams, "We're gonna crash." The golem's massive eye glares down at them, unblinking and merciless. The attack slams home, someone bellows affirmative, the moment it lands. The golem freezes, bewilderment carved in stone as its eyes vanish from their sockets, and someone shouts, pointing, those eyes have moved. Strike after strike melts into a dizzying blur as the clash detonates into a white-hot frenzy. Misery lunged in, panic raging as she checked Gosh. He shook his head and said he'd activated a defense called Float, so he barely took any damage. The stream chat erupted about the banishment stream. Someone blurted, "Did they banish the old man?" Another shot back, "That's what they used during that banishment stream." A third scoffed, "No one's that stupid." The battlefield roars around them as a voice slices through the chaos. "Don't stop." Gosh lays out the nightmare. There's no opening to charge his power, the golem's unfocused eyes give nothing to aim at, and not a single strike even scratches it. He's completely stumped. Missouri snaps to the plan. Use the sword technique he mentioned earlier that shatters hard objects. She hatches a plan. Lure the golem and lock its gaze on her while Gosh charges up. It could work. Gosh exploded, snarling, who else could possibly do it, and refused to let that burden fall on her. Missouri declares she's a member of the Golden Sun, too, urging them to join forces so they can all make it home safely. Ghost locked eyes on her and whispered her name, barely more than a breath. He sank into himself. He'd trained with her and should have known her strength, but he was blinded by the need to protect her and shoved her feelings aside. They trade a lightning-fast nod. Ghosh rips off his pride, admits he was wrong and pleads for her help. Missouri meets him with a steady nod. She understands. Missouri spells out her plan. She knows charging the golem head-on is suicide, so she stares up at its crown and signals Gosh to land a clean, crushing strike. The stream gushes that she talks well. Gosh's voice hardened into iron as he vowed, "I'll make this happen." The operation ignites. Later Ghost rockets forward, sword flashing, while Misery steels herself to play her part after exterminating a dragon. The strongest man unleashed his true power for the whole world to see. A colossal dragon claw hurtles down, hell-bent on crushing Gosh beneath its shadow. He thrusts his arms skyward and bellows the technique's name. In Genmei's name, respond with Shinbu's reason. Abu Gosh bellows he can dodge it, and Missouri watches, eyes narrowing, then nods he's good. Perfect, she locks onto her own strategy and plots to tap Kira Mushi's power. He slammed a marker into the creature's eye. Spirits explode across the battlefield as the golem rumbles. "Are you going to blind me again?" They insist spirits can't actually attack. Then without warning, a third leg rips from the golem's body, and someone shouts that Misery is in danger. She barely slips free from the attack, heart slamming, relief crashing over her as she admits she was panicking. The golem bellows, commanding her to meet its gaze. Smugget has the upper hand. It presses the attack. Missouri takes hit after hit but keeps charging forward. The golem roared that hiding in its body was futile. The glittering insects betrayed her, letting it see exactly where she was. Determination hardened Missouri's face as she tensed, every muscle primed for her next move. The moment they move, the clash surges into brutal, full-throttle fury. Observers fixate on Missouri, stunned by every jaw-dropping move. A spectator leans in, guessing Gosh is using the crack of his attacks to home every strike as Misery's marker blazes upward, and the crowd erupts in cheering. At last, the marker crowns the golem's head. The two fighters sustain a blistering, synchronized onslaught. Gosh roars the name of his ultimate technique. God's origin streams secret art, and raw power surges into a blinding, roaring torrent. The crowd erupts, hailing their revered old man for the jaw-dropping display. Gosh leans over the stream, heart pounding as he checks if everyone loved it, and the comments ignite into a wild firestorm. Misery explodes into wild cheers, roaring Gosh's name like a victory cry. The chat explodes with praise for both. A fan shouts that a ridiculously awesome streaming guild has just been born. Others vow to watch the next stream. The stream wraps up, and the hosts thank everyone while urging viewers to look forward to the next one. The screen cuts to black as a viewer shouts for takes on clearing the blue crystal cave, relief roaring in their voice that it ended without a scratch. Another person blurts, "I still can't believe I actually defeated the crystal golem." The two adventurers howl with laughter, one-upping each other as they brag about their skills. Back at the guild hall, voices erupt. Guildmates demand why Gosh is stuck at C rank. One of them blurts blazing serpent, and a guild member steps forward and explains that. If Gosh had been in a large, properly staffed guild, they'd have shoved him straight into a promotion exam. Instead, the wrong environment robbed him of that shot. A guildmate insists he take the promotion exam the moment he returns, and actually study for it. 2. Gosh roars his assent. Asali storms in, face carved from stone, snarling that the only reason they cleared the dungeon was pure blind luck. Her gaze seared into them. Someone tried to interject, but Asali's kept going, snarling that it proved they were no different from commoners. They only realize how deadly an S-rank dungeon is after stumbling inside with absolutely no knowledge or experience. The scene snaps back to the dungeon where they're trapped, and a voice rips through the dark. Missouri. Missouri owned up to pushing them into the brand-new, brutal, high-difficulty dungeon, admitting her prep and research were shoddy because she'd gambled on Gosh's skill. And Gosh, reeling, realized they'd both been one heartbeat from death. Someone snaps, brute force alone won't conquer a dungeon. The full weight of it slams into him, and he chokes out an apology. Asali's flashed a smile and told him she'd be troubled if he died so easily. She demands he keep the show going for years to come. One of the adventurers watching confesses the guild has hooked them, and they don't usually watch streams. The conversation flips to the slain flame dragon. One grins and urges they butcher it for the supposedly delicious neck meat. Another scoffs. "Have you even seen a chef?" And reminds them it's for gear, but they gut it anyway as someone mutters that dragon meat's just everyday food in Gosh's village. Back at the Golden Sun Guild dorm, the common room crackled as live news streams flooded every screen. A cat-girl announcer pounces into frame and unleashes the hottest streaming updates. Her gaze snapped to the Golden Sun. It surged past 60,000 concurrent connections and had already amassed over 40,000 registered fans. Missouri flushes, squirming as the blunt words land. Goshen grins and admits he's still happy about it, though. The announcer bellows that at this pace, their next stream will blow past 1 million concurrent viewers, and someone's already gotten completely hammered again without even noticing. They whooped, relief and joy crashing through them, so glad they'd kept searching. Missouri leans in, eyes glittering, and plunges into an old story. She suggests one more drink before anything else. Gosh snaps, "Calm down," then relents and listens. Someone asks which story she means. Missouri freezes, realization crashes over her. She hasn't told this one, and the scene snaps to a road near Graham 10 years ago. A young girl slumps in the car, regret gnawing at her. Sneaking along on her parents' job was a terrible mistake. Regret boiled in her veins. She should have learned communication magic first. She tears away from the carriage, suddenly alone as a wolf-like creature lunges at her and her scream rips through the air. Someone bursts forward and cries, "Are you okay?" The rescue explodes into chaos, and a brutal strike slams into the young adventurer. He shrugs off the wounds, scoffing they're nothing for an adventurer like his big brother. Someone snaps that he looks anything but fine. Missouri sounded the alarm, and what followed proved she was right to worry. A kid about Missouri's age tumbled out of the car. The girl's parents sprinted up, frantically calling her name. She snaps that they always abandon her and her big sister. Relief floods the young adventurer when the parents showed up, but his squad mates roar at him for wandering off, shouting they must report to the guild soon or they won't get paid. Back in the present, she says, she meant to thank him and tore through every guild in Graham hunting for him, armed only with the clue that he was a new adventurer with an injured arm. Someone laughs that that's practically the trademark of every rookie. She smiles as the kid she pulled from danger blossoms into someone extraordinary, swallowed a storm of shouting afterward, and still glows knowing she did the right thing. Goach freezes. Has he really gotten that old? A blaring breaking news bulletin shatters the silence, yanking them out of the moment. Diva Melvis dropped a new song and rocketed to the top of the rankings, her channel exploding past 1 million concurrent viewers while Golden Sun stalled under 200,000. Her live viewership rockets toward 100,000. Gotch admits he's already been eclipsed, and someone cheers that Melvis is on a whole other level, just as expected. Missouri suddenly bursts out, "My sister is amazing." Gotch snapped her head up and demanded, "What did you just say?" Missouri's grin widened as she repeated, "My sister is amazing after all." That means she'll have to fight twice as hard. Gosh's mind reels trying to catch up. Missouri snaps into the moment remembering she never told him. So she plays it cool and casually drops that Melvis is her older sister. The shock slams in awkwardly and brutally, like a truck barreling through. A voice cuts in, "Were you streaming alone because of Melvis?" Missouri snaps that she started it all and even trained her sister. And someone suddenly realizes she's the mastermind who created the diva Melvis. Missouri weaves her sister into every song, and it's a thrill watching those tracks catch fire and spread to more and more people. With Gosh at her side, she dares things she'd never do with her sister, hell-bent on turning this guild into a wildfire of excitement. She doesn't get to continue. Gosh crashes onto the table, drunk and out cold. Missouri sits there, jaw clenched, as someone grabs her words, "Make it more exciting," and hurls them back like a dare. The scene snaps back to that moment as a voice slices through the air, promising fresh exploration streams at special events, but warning that if nothing changes, it'll just loop endlessly. Asali slams it home. They only cleared the dungeon by sheer, ridiculous luck. Gosh parses every tiny detail, turning every possible outcome over in his head. If he ascends to high rank as an adventurer, he'll become a powerhouse who propels this guild forward. Determination hardens into iron. First, he'll ace the adventurer promotion exam. Gosh is an old farmer who was once the strongest. He vanquished the highest-ranked dragon, and his rustic strength still packs a wallop, so he signs up for the adventurer promotion exam to push his guild toward B rank and vows he must train first. Scene snaps to Gosh, planted indoors, muttering about what comes next. Hours crawl by and Gosh collapses face first onto the floor, mind spinning over what to do next. Morning breaks and Missouri pops in, cheerily greeting him. He rasps he'll be right there, then slumps into a seat, spiral eyes from pulling an all-nighter. Missouri presses, "You okay?" He breathes out, "I'm barely holding on, but I'm managing somehow." Gosh admits he binge-watched exam prep streams to sniff out trends and tactics. But even with his mind made up, he's got no leads. Misery's eyes widen that those streams actually help. She offers to coach him through the written exam too, and Gosh thanks her, feeling reassured. Missouri blurted the exam was a week away, and she was terrified of the written section. So they dove into a brutal 7-day study marathon together. They bulldozed through the material, day by day. On promotion exam day, a passerby locks eyes on Gotch and bellows a fierce "good luck" as he strides out the door. Missouri stakes out the street, burning to see Gosh's new challenge unfold live. She snaps, "I'm coming too." Gotch barrels up to the entrance of the Adventurer B-Rank promotion exam and finds the place choked by a heaving flood of people. Gotch plants himself with that massive sword and feels every eye on him, out of place amid a crowd of kids as murmurs ripple when they spot him and whisper, "That's the greatsword uncle. What's he doing here? Is he a guest?" One breathes, "The real thing's huge," while another grins. Shaking his hand would be an endurance test. A towering, bald man in monk-like robes, grin splitting his face, strides up to Gosh, introduces himself as Zoyo and says he never misses Gosh's streams. Gosh locks eyes, confirms the newcomer's identity, and snaps, "Who's Zoya?" Zoya says he's taking the exam for the first time, sent on the guildmaster's recommendation, and an excited voice pipes up that he's a fellow beginner. Gotch confesses he hasn't taken the exam in ages. Someone snaps, "Why are you even here?" The loudspeakers crackle that the start time is approaching and everyone should leave their weapons and luggage in the waiting room. The shot tightens on Zoyo's face, a determined smile blazing as they declare, "Let's both give it our all." Gosh agrees. The written exam kicks off and the proctor booms that the questions are absolute basics, and the passing line is almost a perfect score. A flashback slams into Gosh. Misery had handed him a specially prepared practice book, and staring at his paper, he realizes these are the exact questions, so he writes like a man possessed, his answer sheet filling in a furious blur as he thanks Misery silently. The female examiner with glasses pinned Gotch with a hard stare, suspicion burning in her eyes as she snapped, "Are you cheating?" A nearby examinee scoffs that he sounds clueless on stream, yet his pen tears through the paper at blistering speed. Gosh keeps insisting he's not cheating. The examiner snaps. "Then stop looking around." Cut to the physical fitness test. The proctor bellows they'll assess strength, speed, jumping power, and endurance in that order, and the muscular examiner orders the examinees to form pairs. Zoyo shoots a grin at Gosh and asks to team up. Gosh shrugs and says he's in. The proctor bellows the first test is abs, one teammate pins the feet and counts every rep. Zoyo's grin twists wickedly as he plots to loosen his grip and dump the extra weight onto Gosh. The test ignites. Pressure slams into Gosh. He claws through each brutal ob rep, every movement a desperate battle. Panic surges as he plants his feet hard. If he doesn't, the blast will tear him off the ground. Zoya flinched, eyes wide at the sudden intensity, and he fired off a rapid apology for pressing far too hard. The medic team rockets in to tend the wounded, as the proctor hollers rapid-fire orders at everyone else. Back to the tests, the proctor bellowed that strength measurements were finished, and anyone who could stand must rush to the speed test. Someone locks eyes with Ghosh and growls, "He's got guts." The proctor's voice cuts through the chatter, "You'll run in groups of 5. Tension explodes as they argue. Choose to rest and you're instantly disqualified, sit down and you're out. The runners spring into their starting stances, muscles coiled and eyes razor-sharp, poised to explode the instant the gun cracks. Ghosh detonates into a lightning sprint, the shockwave of his speed literally blasting the other competitors off their feet. The aftermath leaves competitors reeling, heads spinning, limbs trembling, scrambling to steady themselves as an observer calls out the next test, jumping power. Power crackled as Zoyo thanked Gosh and urged him to go for it. The examiner shouted for them to jump. Gosh steeled himself mentally, and then blasted off, rocketing onto the platforms as the crowd gasped in amazement. One person gasps at how far he can go, another hisses, "Is he some kind of crazy stalker?" The final test hurls you into relentless laps around the track, running until you collapse. Gotch screams and barrels forward. Meanwhile, Zoyo crumples, 0 on every talent disqualified, staring at the caltrops scattered at his feet, the very things that caused his failure. Cut to the martial arts exam arena, the proctor's voice booms. "Examiners, pick your preferred art and a weapon from the racks. The master of each style will judge your proficiency and performance." Gosh shoots, "Do I get bonus points for using every weapon?" The proctor snarls, "Yes, but flub even one and points get stripped away." Gotch declared, "I understand." The demonstration erupts as examinees unleash sword, hammer, spear, kendo fist, axe, and dagger in a blur. The examiners gape, baffled at how Gosh handles every weapon perfectly, and Gosh grins, glad he mastered the four gods origin style that fits any armament. Later in the exam cafeteria, young examinees swarmed Gotch, shouting they'd commented before and belonged to his fan club, gushing that his performance was insanely cool as one begged him to teach ancient martial arts, and Gotch raised both palms, trying to calm the frenzy. Down the hallway, Zoya stalks away, revenge coiling in her veins with every step. A voice hissed under their breath, "Ghosh is a walking jinx, exactly like they said." Dread claws at him, as he imagines the guild master discovering his disqualification halfway through the exam and the nightmare that would follow. Someone bellows for a medic as people swarm in and crowd around. Hold up is that the arena where they're staging the subjugation exam. They spot an injured person on a bench getting treated, and one of them snaps. "Fail and you'll wind up like that, broken, bloodied, and being patched back together." Gotch fires off a single, calm, "Yes." A booming announcement orders him to ready his equipment in the waiting room and enter next, the scene. The camera slams into the monster extermination arena, a massive circular stadium ringed with tiered seats and VIP boxes. The crowd buzzing as someone points out Ghosh is an old man too, and wonders if he could really be the next one up with the great sword. 3 officials crowd the judges' table. Guild Association Chairman Kate Arman, a woman who keeps proclaiming it's stylish, until someone orders her to put some clothes on first, and Adventurers Guild Chairman Regan Bremies, a large, bearded man. Someone roared with laughter and called out, "Kate's quite the talker." At the official's table, a voice rose to thank Ober for his help the other day. The light-haired person snaps, "You should be thanking me for showing you something this fascinating." Ghosh plants himself alone in the arena as the crowd explodes into confused, furious shouts. What the hell is going on? They roar, demanding to know what happened to the great sword. The examiner's report crackles in. Ghosh refuses to slaughter even monsters. He'll test his own strength by taking the exam completely unarmed. Chairman Bremis's grin splits his face as he bellows with laughter, dubs Ghosh Krosner insolent, and revels in his outrageous confidence. Earlier, Misery fired at Ghosh. Did he want to prepare for the subjugation exam? Gotch admitted he'd only ever obsessed over whether his sword could fell foes, then snapped that an adventurer's true weapon is ingenuity. The written exam prep armed him with knowledge. This time he'd fight by turning the monster's own characteristics against them. Missouri's eyes went sharp. She understood. Ghosh pleaded with her to judge whether his strategy would work, admitting he wasn't completely sure. He roared, determination burning, "I'm fine, I'm ready." A booming announcement declares the monsters are mostly C-class and change every time. 3 candidates flash up: Mushroom, Poison Amoeba, and Mob Goblin. Ghosh's gaze drills into them, comprehension crashing over him. He knows exactly what he's up against. The command rips through the air, "Commence subjugation." Ghosh lunged at the first enemy, snatching the lumbering mushroom and locking it in a vice-like grip. Ghosh roars a warning. Step too close and the mushroom will unleash a cloud of poisonous spores. He whips it in a savage arc, hurling a cloud of spores outward. He whips the mushroom in a savage arc. A gust tears the poison amoeba's gel-like parts away. Immune to blunt force, they buckle under the wind assault. The crowd explodes into shocked shouts at the cunning tactic. Then a thunderous impact rocks the arena. A frantic voice screams, "Ghosh, are you okay?" as he tumbles through the air. Ghosh warns mob goblins melt into the underbrush and pounce in packs, but out in the open alone they crumble. He charges his technique and slams the dragon hammer into the last goblin. They crushed it with a thunderous, earth-shattering strike. The strike rips through the air as officials stay planted in their seats, eyes locked. The girl lights up, practically vibrating with excitement at Ghosh's performance, and Ghosh slams his fist skyward in triumph, basking in his victory. Zoyo, draped in robes, inches forward across the arena, each slow step electrifying the air. He muttered under his breath, scoffing, "It's all Ghosh." Eyes snap to him and murmurs flare, "Who is that guy, and should we kick him out?" Ghosh spots him, steps aside, and hands the job over to him. Ghosh explodes, "I went out of my way to bring my weapon." The exam's over, and Zoyo just shrugs and backs off, not about to mess with him. A bewildered onlooker gapes as the scene unravels before their eyes. Zoyo explodes, accusing Gotch of feigning cluelessness while pulling off vile deeds, and snarls that it's no wonder the cellist blew a fuse. The moment the cellist is mentioned, Gotch's mind snaps to them. Zoyo lunges from nowhere, bellowing the exiled guildmaster's name. Zoyo roared he'd punish Gauch in the cellist's stead, then hurtled himself into a savage assault. Mid-exam, a monstrous beast dove from the sky and slammed into the arena. The narration cuts back, roaring that the world's greatest power had been exposed when a dragon was exterminated, revealing the killer as a weathered country farmer who, shockingly, held the highest rank. A gigantic bird-like creature now hurtles down toward the arena. Ghosh and his companion freeze in stunned horror. Someone yells, "What is that monster?" And another screams, "Where did it even come from?" The bird rockets downward, slamming through the air with bone-shaking force. Gotch's sword flicks up in a lightning reflex as a monstrous bird erupts into view, plummeting like a spear. He snatches it mid-dive, pins it close, and soothes the wild creature into a trembling calm. A relieved bystander blurts a shaky "thank you" at him. Gotch beams and coos, "Good girl." Victorious, she just tamed the creature. Zoyo roars at Sema, "Don't get in my way, who are you?" "I'm Sema Bandizer, S-rank adventurer and monster tamer, and they called me in to watch Ghosh's trial." Confusion cracks across an examiner's face as the massive raptor-like bird keeps savaging them, and another examiner snaps, "Do we get rid of this nuisance first?" The bird hurtles from the sky like a living missile, slamming into the arena and igniting pandemonium. The examiners erupt, demanding to know what's going on. One of them snaps to attention. Raptors was the one who kept pulling Ghosh off task the whole test. Sema snaps, eyes blazing, swearing Ghosh has always supported and helped her. There has to be a good reason for what just happened. Rage and disbelief warped the bald examiner's face as a colleague barked, "Where did the monster go?" and was met with a bewildered shrug. Zoyo's scream rips through the air as the raptors pounce, mauling him with a brutal, unforgiving attack. He spat a curse at Ghosh and shoved the command at him, "Take your strike." As the assault thundered on, someone screamed about the bird's poison. The raptors screech and lunge, then fall quiet under Ghosh's calm touch. He stands composed beside the giant bird. Ghosh says, "This is going too far," someone snapped. The bald examiner cut through the chaos, agreeing and ordering everyone to calm down and talk it out first. Ghosh snaps, "I can disinfect the wound with alcohol," and the examiner thanks him. SEMA snaps, "Leave the rest to the E-examiners." The ghost's voice cracks into a growl. "No, I'm the one who should be thanking you for saving this child." They steel themselves and prepare to leave. The bald examiner blocks them and drills Sima about her earlier comment on watching the trial, and Sima lashes out, squaring off with Ghosh. They keep scoffing that he's only C rank, yet he nabbed permission to storm an S rank dungeon. She points at him, voice cracking as she screams, "You cheated." Ghosh swore his teammate handled the paperwork cleanly and shot down every accusation of cheating. The scene slams into the Graham Metropolitan Library. A blonde girl hunched between towering shelves, devouring every line of her textbook. Her gaze snaps to the approaching librarian and she spits, "Misery." Sigurd slammed his name into the air, reminding her they'd been there together just the other day. Sigurd thanks her once more for what she did last time, then leans in and asks, "Are you doing research?" She snapped, "Can you use magic?" Sigurd flashed a grin and shrugged, "Only to stream and communicate." She brightens, decides it's worth trying, and eagerly asks to learn light-type spells, and Sigurd snaps that the man let the shining bug escape. A scream rips through the room, igniting chaos, as they dive into dusty tomes and unearth tantalizing spells. The girl suddenly asks if the ancient magic called the empty casket could help their exploration. The old librarian's shout rips the hush, quiet, and the girl scrambles out a swift, breathless apology. Sigurd grinned and said streamers have been buzzing about Beastkin since Gosh showed up, and he might swing by Sukat soon. And the girl perked up, asking if Gosh live-streaming some flashy secret technique could blow everyone away and turn him into a cross-species sensation. Sigurd explodes with excitement as he dives into the four divine origin style, roaring that the vermilion bird technique is breathtaking because you can wrap your sword in living flame with key power or minor spirits. When he realized he could command that blaze without any magic, it exploded in him like a revolution ripping his world apart. The old librarian roars, "Silence," and the girl apologizes instantly. She gasped, admitted she'd accidentally raised her voice, and begged for a moment to catch her breath and pull herself together. Ghosh forces a cold calm, sifts through the facts, and realizes the calmer he gets, the less anything here feels strange. Her expression freezes into ice. She says, jaw tight, that it's chilling. An adventure like this actually exists. She fixed Gosh with a cold stare and hissed, "Erase him too." He hasn't even registered the question when she lunges, shattering the moment with a brutal attack. The fight explodes as Gosh and Sama collide across the arena, trading relentless, bone-shuddering blows. Semadal, awkward and unfiltered, can't fathom why everyone crowns him. She insists he's just a strong, soft-hearted old man. Gotch confesses he's the one who finds it most mysterious. He swears he can't fathom what makes him great, yet countless fans still rally to his side. Gotch implores Sema to teach him the mindset of a high-ranking adventurer, vowing he won't betray the trust of those who support him. Sima orders Gosh to try to ignite her desire. The battle's intensity rockets the moment Ghosh's demeanor snaps into cold, razor-sharp focus. Sama's breath catches as Gosh flips his feelings like a light switch, changing in a heartbeat. His entire presence twists into something fierce as the battle surges on, every strike slamming with overwhelming force. The air between them snapped as their presences turned lethal. Sama surged forward, sword held high, and unleashed a brutal strike. Initiating combat, the arena explodes as Gosh and Sema collide in a ferocious, blinding-speed clash. Sema bellows, "Take this," and lands a crushing strike that blasts Gosh skyward. The bald examiner thundered a warning, anything beyond that falls outside the request's scope. Sema snarls at the doubter, "You think I'm insane? If you won't trust me to the very end, hand this filthy job to Ober or anyone else." The hulking, bald man offers a sheepish apology and declares himself head of the Beginner French Adventurers Guild. Ghosh's jaw drops as she realizes he's the guildmaster. The guildmaster admits he'd been eyeing Ghosh for a while, and alongside the exam he wanted to see him in a serious showdown with someone who could match him. So he sent Zoyo his way, and it exploded into trouble. A spiky-haired man confesses, "Sama too." Ignorance clung to him like a shadow, he knew nothing at all. The guildmaster erupts in congratulations, declaring Gotch's exam flawless and officially passing him into Class B. Gotch collapses, utterly drained and dazed after everything that happened, and a voice cuts through the haze. What's wrong? The man reels, certain too many things have happened, and Sama declares they're handing him the promised rules of conduct for advanced adventurers. A semi-smile curls across their lips as they slam one truth home: learn from failure. The guild master snaps that he'll race to the infirmary to check on his partner. A memory flashes. The bald guildmaster presses Gosh. Now that he's a B-rank adventurer, will he aim even higher? Gosh declares that after about 5 years of achievements and evaluations, he'll qualify for a rank, and the guildmaster nods, confirming it's true. The guildmaster booms that the guild runs a special fast-track system to rocket exceptional adventurers up the ranks early, promoting standout members whenever it chooses. He leaps forward, offering to put this into action for Gosh, and asks, "What do you think?" Gosh grins, says a Class A license looks like it's coming his way, and brandishes his Class B badge for all to see. Badge gleaming, Misery whooped the amazing news alongside President 5556, while Gosh warned that once he hits Class A, he'll be swamped with duty and his streams could suffer, so he wanted to check with Misery first. Misery grins and brushes him off. She's overflowing with stream ideas she can handle solo, and Gosh snaps, "Don't let a chance like this slip away." Gosh promises Misery he'll make it up to her next time, and now they can storm high-difficulty dungeons without forging a single document. Gosh's voice tightened, as he warned he'd heard getting an exploration permit for the Azure Crystal Cave would pull in a swarm of people. Misery squirmed awkwardly. Gosh barked they'd have to coordinate properly from now on, and the other person agreed. One of them springs up, beaming, "Shake it off, let's go grab something to eat." And the other snaps, "Don't drink too much, we're out past the city limits." The view snaps outside the serpent of the blazing Sun Guild lodgings as a furious voice slices the air, screaming, "Are you an idiot or what?" Asales erupted, roaring at Zoyo that he hadn't even finished the exam and snapping, "Do you know this exam isn't free?" Guild members gaped in shock and confusion, and one of them stepped forward to soothe her, insisting no adventurer in their guild has ever quit and that he's treasured by every one of them. Asales snaps they have to quit those exploration streams with no hunts. Regulations tightened, and there's no profit, and another member fires back they'd make more just partying at some random bar, waving ad revenue as proof. The guildmaster cuts through the chatter, asks pointedly about Gosh, and suggests letting him rejoin. Someone else says they stumbled onto him at the testing grounds, and that raw strength screamed he'd trained like a madman after getting kicked out. Asales scoffs, insisting no dead weight could get that strong in just a year, and another voice snaps that Asales never even said a word about it before. Someone blurts out about Gosh's streams just as Asales snaps, "I don't have time for this." Someone jabbed a finger and shouted, eyes wide, "The girl beside Gosh isn't the one who came to our guild earlier." Another voice explodes, "Why the hell is that bastard Gosh even here?" One guild member roars that the guild is insanely popular right now. The stream surged past 120,000 concurrent viewers at its peak, while another, voice thick with desperation, admits their guild's record barely tops 10,000. They scoffed, insisting this had to be fake. They burst out grinning ear to ear, "I joined Missouri-chan's fan club," and the room froze as everyone blinked, utterly baffled. Asales erupted, roaring at Zoyo to get out and dropping the bomb, "You're fired." Zoyo explodes into a string of curses, frustration crackling as he's hurled out. Sema's eyes widen in stunned awe as she admits she never imagined Gosh could be this talented. He blurted it was a shock. Sema smirked they'll wake up to it soon and snapped, "Do they even realize how much talent they drove away?" Asales's eyes flashed. They vowed to unleash a flashier stream that would outshine those guys. Asales's memory snaps to Chartra's, the slick, high society restaurant where Diva Melvis will be, and they scheme to turbocharge its prestige and turn that shine into cold cash. They explode into a wild, manic cackle and shout, "I've just had a brilliant idea." Asales snaps at Prim to fetch 2 tickets to Chartra, and Prim's jaw drops in stunned disbelief. The cellist set his jaw and vowed, "I'm only watching." She fires off the last words of her threat, vowing Gosh and his friends will learn their lesson. Gosh, Misery, and Sigurd basked in a rare, easy camaraderie, blissfully blind as a sinister scheme quietly coiled itself around them. The female streamer erupts in an ecstatic whoop as her broadcast ends, then signs off with a booming, "That's it for today's stream," and waves a bright goodbye. Comments explode as viewers insist it's near impossible to find anyone who's topped Misery's viewer count. Someone even calls out that weird guy with those eerily familiar eyebrows. Gosh's breath catches as he finally lays eyes on what he's been hunting. A surge of power pulses. He jabs a finger at the screen, shouting he's found them, and the spiky-haired man freezes. He instantly recognizes Gosh as that flashy show-off from before. A fierce female warrior explodes into the room, shouting she's hunted Gosh all this time just to return something, and Gosh's companion scoffs and brands it with a terrible nickname. The ghost yanks the object toward itself, voice slicing the air. "What is this?" They hand it back, confessing they declutched it so long it picked up a bit of grime, but relief floods them. They're just glad to give it back. Samar exclaims, amazed, "Gosh is incredible." She's shocked he'd be thrilled to hand back something to the person he'd needlessly picked a fight with, and Samar insists. She insists she's the one who should apologize for what happened back then presses the ticket into Gosh's hand as a learning fee, and Gosh snaps back that he's finally paid her back. Sama admits the golden sun stream blew her eyes open, showing her just how raw and inexperienced she still is. Sama leans in, voice warm, promising the ticket will light up with joy the moment he uses it. She's already counting down the minutes, pulse racing for his next stream. Laughter bursts out as one figure freezes, brain scrambling to decide what to do next. Sigurd's gaze cut through the room. After that reaction, they'd never be allowed to repay Sema. Misery bristled, annoyance crackling off them. Ghost shrugged and gratefully snatched the tickets. Someone holds up 2 tickets, grins at the player guy and calls it a nice move, then asks Misery to come. Misery beams and snaps the offer up, giddy with excitement. Later, the two hurtled through moonlit streets in a creaking carriage. One of them admits, cheeks warming with embarrassment, and the other teases, "You really think so?" Misery grins and says she feels blessed to see Ghost all dressed up and razor-sharp, and Ghost fires back that the outfit flatters Misery more, like it was tailor-made for her, leaving Misery blinking in surprised delight. The tailor leans in, announcing they rent bridal gowns too, and imploring them to keep coming back. A gasp rips through the room as someone reels at the bridal gown news. Misery's cheeks flare pink with a delighted grin as she declares it's like they're doing a wedding rehearsal, and Ghosh freezes, blurting, "Did I say something weird?" Her reaction baffles him as the carriage lurches to a stop, and a voice announces they've reached their destination. The grand building bursts into view under the night sky, its windows ablaze and its facade towering with breathtaking splendor. Gotch declares this place Chartra's, the capital's finest high-class restaurant, and Misery gapes, breathless, whispering that it feels like a dream. Staff checked their tickets, ushered them into the plush lobby to wait until a guide arrived, and announced that songstress Melvis would perform tonight. Her show streamed live across the fancy lobby. Guests drift and jostle as the live stream announcement thunders on. Misery gasps in awe that the place looks like a castle, and the air crackles with excited chatter about Melvis singing and the live performance. The polished floor betrayed them. Feet shot out and they skidded to a halt, wide-eyed and utterly startled. Gosh snaps that the floor is treacherously slick, then thanks the hands hauling him to his feet. He declared he could stand on his own. A voice cuts in asking, "Are you all right?" while someone else shrugs and says, "No problem." A woman at the next table zeroes in and blurts, "What are you doing here? Wait, is that Misery?" And Misery lights up, rushes over to hug her sister Ow and laughs that it's been ages. She snagged tickets and had to come to the guild's get-together. Gotch staggers as realization explodes. This woman is Melvis, and Ow nods, confirming he's right. The stream's viewer counter blazes at 684,909 as comments pour in calling the live number insane. Fans gush the new song is ridiculously good and beg her to sing the recently announced track before she utters a single note. Gosh and Misery recoiled, eyes wide, when Melvis's true identity detonated into the room. The stage bursts into view, the audience a black sea of silhouettes below, and Melvis looms on the raised platform, drenched in a white-hot spotlight. Hands poised over the keys, the pianist sits ready as Melvis faces the crowd, promising to lace their time with song and urging everyone to listen. Melvis emerges in an elaborate performance costume, lifts her arms, then unfurls them wide as radiant light erupts around her. Below, Gosh watches, stunned and overwhelmed, his face a mask of pure amazement. A voice shoots, "Could Gosh be that person?" Ao declares he's Mr. Gosh Crossner, and Misery's eyes flash. She knows this is her Akko. She cries out to her big sis. I'll suggest they scoot over there for a bit. Misery leans toward Gosh and says they'll step away for a moment, and Gosh freezes, awkward and flustered by the sudden departure. Left alone, Gosha stares at the two sisters. It's uncanny how much they mirror each other, and a strange chill tightens his chest. He freezes, eyes locked on them, burning to know what they're saying about him. Melvis strode up and introduced herself to Gosh, declared her little sister would always be in his care, repeated that it was nice to meet him, and announced her full name, Melvis Alknia. Gosh shrugs and laughs it off, modest as ever. Nah, I haven't really done that much. Melvis snaps back to Ghosh with a cocky grin and declares he's exactly as Misery described. Gosh's expression shatters into confusion as he scrambles to understand what she means. The scene snaps into a flashback. Gosh froze, jaw-dropping, at what Misery had just told her sister Melvis. Misery had excitedly described an incredible person she'd found while watching a stream, calling them kind, humble, and amazing, certain they'd one day be in the spotlight and dreaming of the moment she could stand beside them and stream together. Melvis piped up that she'd heard they're always living it up. Back in the present, Melvis pleads with Gosh to be kind to her adorable little sister from now on and holds out her hand for a handshake. Panic surges through Gosh and he freezes, utterly unsure what to do. A staffer bursts over and declares it's about time to get ready. Melvis nods sharply, acknowledging the message. Misery lights up and announces she'll be joining the song today. Enjoy it. She urges. She says she's glad they got to greet each other, and the handshake between Melvis and Gosh completes. Gosh reels, eyes wide and breath ragged, completely floored by everything that just happened. Misery vows she'll give it her all, and Gosh beams encouragingly, saying he's looking forward to it. Dazed and reeling, Gosh's mind scrambles to make sense of what just happened to him. The camera swoops into the restaurant dining area, where guests fill table after table, their chatter and clattering cutlery whipping the room into a lively roar. Tight close-ups unveil each masterfully plated dish the moment it's set before the diners. The instant the plates hit the table, Ghosh and Misery froze. Eyes wide, breath stolen, blown away by the dazzling presentation and the food's flawless, mouth-watering taste. Misery gasped. She couldn't believe she'd finally get to taste the legendary sparkling salmon, while Ghosh tore into the great boar's rich meat, savoring each bite and declaring it pure bliss. One of them gasps that the experience erases all sense of time, while the other snaps. It's almost time for Melvis's song. Two figures loom in silhouette over a candlelit table, the lone flame carving their profiles out of the dark. Romance crackles through the room as a staff member apologizes for the wait and announces tonight's guest, Melvis, will ignite the stage with a singing show. Melvis storms the stage in her performance outfit, beams a dazzling hello to the crowd at Chartra's and every viewer on the stream, and the chat immediately floods with, "Melvis is so cool and cute as always." Fans seethe with envy for those lucky enough to hear her live, flooding the chat with breathless praise of her beauty and shouting they've been waiting for this moment. The crowd goes silent, every eye locked on Melvis as he seizes the stage and unleashes a wildly dramatic performance. Misery finally poured her heart out to Ghosh, revealing her big sister has twalled relentlessly since she was a child. Day after day, Melvis hurled his voice into the world, hungry to etch something unforgettable into people's hearts. Misery tore off her mask and confessed the truth. She once harbored a quiet flicker of jealousy toward her sister. Watching Melvis kick off her stream and command a tidal wave of attention lights Misery up, but a hollow gnaws at her. Melvis keeps dominating the stage while Misery admits she has nothing left to do. Gosh insists to Misery, "That's not true, you've got more knowledge and guts than I do. Everyone has their own strength, so don't worry about it." Misery's smile flickers at his words, then emotion floods her. She laughs and Ghosh blurts, "Did he just say something weird?" Misery reveals her sister told her the exact same thing. Ghost reels back, eyes wide with shock. Realizing Melvis had said it too, silence slammed into the space between them. One of them beams and blurts that they love the song. The other instantly agrees. Melvis ends her piece, fingers gliding over the keys in a final, electrifying flourish. The crowd explodes into thunderous applause, hands thrust sky-high, as Melvis sweeps a grateful bow and thanks everyone. The stream hit 1.4 million concurrent viewers as chat exploded, calling her performance nothing short of amazing and thanking their lucky stars to live in Melvis Misery's era. She announces she's wrapping up her set and begs everyone to tune in again when suddenly people shout, "Did that old man with the giant sword just appear at the edge of the screen?" Some laugh it off, saying Misery can't handle her alcohol. She must have imagined him. Elsewhere, a diner gaped at the weaponized-looking plate and exploded. "What the hell is that? Are you seriously serving something this dangerous to customers?" Back at the guild, someone locks onto the stream and whispers about the afterglow of their sister's song, and a guild member's eyes flare. They recognize the person as a cellist. Grudo Schultz, the manager in a chef's hat, strides up, introduces himself, and implores the furious customer to let him hear their side. The customer lashes out, accusing the restaurant of serving venom scorpion bones, and the dining room erupts. One patron grimly says this is bad news, another recoils and asks if it's really okay to have something so sinister in a dish, while someone else, still noting how nice the atmosphere was, asks what all the commotion is about. A character leans in and hisses that the venom scorpion prowls the rainy season fields, its black bones dripping lethal poison, but their voice trailed off as someone called out that the bone finder was live streaming from a luxury restaurant, lurking in plain sight, and the complaining customer slid over, declaring that spot had the better view so they'd move there. A scheming smile curled on someone's face as Grudo Schultz slammed into the restaurant's defense, snapping there's no way a venom scorpion bone could be in their food. He boasted they hire only top-tier chefs and put every ingredient through layer after layer of inspection, then scoffed at the charge, snarling anyone can spit words from their mouth, and that means nothing. Tension explodes as the accuser orders staff to search every customer's plate, claiming the bone could have slipped into other meals too. Another customer recoiled, eyes widening, when their fork struck a jet-black bone buried in the dish, another one just like the rest. A third patron bolts upright and shouts, "There's one on my plate too." The restaurant staff erupted in disbelief, swearing they'd never have missed a bone that massive. Chaos explodes as furniture goes crashing and tumbling across the room. A male customer clutches his chest, gasping that it feels unbearably tight. A female customer recoils, her face crumpling with discomfort as she snaps, "That's disgusting." The wide shot rips back to lay bare the restaurant's full-blown disaster as whispers flare into a roar. People realize this is huge. And everyone is stunned that even the famed Charles Rowe has truly blown it. The schemer cackles wickedly, crowing that the setup is flawless. Someone steps forward and asks, "Got a minute?" Gosh stood with his companion at his side, and the schemer's inner voice snapped. No matter that Gosh had once been their superior, this couldn't be ignored. They lean in, scrutinize the fragments, and ask if these are the bones of a venomous scorpion. Then, eyes blazing, they confirm without a shadow of a doubt that they are. A watcher shouts the food's been poisoned, chaos exploding as a familiar face steps forward. Someone cries why everyone's writhing, and a voice snaps it's probably the work of the person across, someone who wields what looks like poison magic. Another spots Prim in the crowd, an observer sneers there making a fuss about bones in the food, and someone else points out the only people who look like they're suffering are clustered at that table. Episode 11 begins with the title, Case Closed, the poisoning incident. A character responds affirmatively while Gotch tells Misery he's counting on her to look after Prim. He declares he'll go talk to Asiles. Misery confirms she understands. Stream comments flood in as viewers recognize Gotch. They point out they told everyone they saw him earlier. People ask why he showed up and call him the Greatsword Old Man. At least one notes he's not carrying that greatsword this time. The cellist brusquely cut Gosh off. "I don't know why you're here, we're in the middle of something." And Gosh shot a quick apology, leaning in to ask if he could examine the bone up close. Asiles bites back, refusing to blow this into a bigger scene and brushing the man off as clueless. The staff reluctantly goes along but hisses a warning to him, "Be careful, that's a venomous bone." Gasps explode as Gosh clamps his bare hands around the bone, voices shout, "Are you insane?" And Gosh thanks them as he studies it. Gosh hoisted the bone into the light, scrutinized every ridge, and snapped, "Just as I thought, this isn't a venom scorpion's bone," while someone shot back, "How can you tell?" Gosh grabs a venom scorpion bone, holds it to the light until it turns translucent, snaps that it isn't shaped like that, then slams down a diagram mapping the scorpion's true anatomy. Grudo winces and admits he lost his composure for a heartbeat. Gosh steps forward and says, "I'm Gosh, I used to be a farmer," and Grudo snaps, "Who in the world are you?" Gotch explodes into a story about rainy season venom scorpions swarming the fields, insisting they're actually helpful, devouring the pests that eat leafy greens, yet slipping into crevices and wrecking the harvest. He realizes he got shoved off topic and lurches into a clumsy lecture to steer things back, which makes people laugh, point out he used to be a farmer, ask what he's even talking about. One person snap, "If it's not poison, why are people suffering?" And another voice hiss that he seems suspicious. Gosh bellows Brim's name, ripping the silence apart. She barked, ordering him to funnel every ounce of his magic into that single target. Runes scream to life, light rips the sky, and the air shudders as the spell is cast. He clocked that poison magic was nearly extinct. The servers jolted, stunned, shouting they'd seen this person before. The stream chat erupts into a frenzy, viewers shout that Misery's here too, gush that she looks insanely cute in that dress, and one user calls out the noisy commenters. Someone snaps they should deal with this commotion first, then gets completely distracted by how unbearably cute Misery is. Gotch, Misery, explains that a magic book they read says state assailment spells can't be cast if your focus is shattered, and someone else turns to the affected customers and asks, "How do you feel now?" Relief crashes over the customers. One gasps that their body suddenly feels weightless, while another swears the nausea evaporated like it never happened. Grudo, or one of the crew, asked them to kill the stream so they could slip into another room and talk in private. The cellist snaps that sure, she knows little about bones, but that alone doesn't prove they're the culprits. The chef fires back that her companion did use poison magic. Asalis slammed her palm down, demanding proof it was poison magic. How can they know when all they've got is that woman's testimony? Shock rips through misery, she freezes, while a character grins at that stubborn streak and finally concedes Asalis is right. Asalis brims with swagger and declares she's the only one streaming here, smirking as she thinks that if they try to verify it, all they'll have is the spot where the bones were found, and nothing there can pin this on anyone. Someone bellows they've got proof. The crowd goes silent as Melvis strides in, jaws dropping. Could that really be her? Melvis storms in, tablet flashing proof. Replaying her earlier broadcast, she saw that woman slip something onto the nearby plates as Melvis sang. An authority figure storms up to the cellist and barks, "Anything to say for yourself?" Shock explodes through Asalis. She scrambles to shift the blame, shrieking that her accomplice single-handedly pulled the bones and the magic, and that she had nothing to do with it. Betrayal hits her accomplice like a punch. They reel in shock and cry out, "Lady Asalis." Voices explode, observers scoff that the claim won't fly, others roar that it's blatant blame shifting. One person chokes out they have no words to defend Asalis. A disappointed voice only utters Asalis. Someone points at her and snarls that she gave the orders. The authority locks eyes with the zealous follower and teases that she might come with them. Asalis lashes out violently, screaming for them to get their hands off her. She explodes into a savage, cinematic attack as the restaurant erupts, while a staffer screams at a zealous onlooker to wait. Azel bolts through the chaos. Gosh snarls he's borrowing something, snatches what he needs and rockets after her, igniting a thunderous chase as she fights to get away. She crumples to the ground, groaning as the cellist's strike rips into her during her desperate escape. They lunged forward, apologizing breathlessly as they offered a hand. "Can you stand?" Gotch and the chef thread through the aftermath, and Gotch can't stop marveling that the cellist keeps conjuring ideas he never could. It blows his mind. So he snaps his thoughts shut and tells himself to shut up. Gosh says that after starting his own stream, the grind slammed into him again. Streaming is brutal, and what fires him up and what viewers crave can be completely opposite. Shock punched Asalis at his words. Her eyes snapped wide, and she kept yelling "shut up" inside her head on a relentless loop. Her fist clenches with burning frustration as the chase rips through the restaurant. Ghost stares her down and taunts, "Is this stream really what you want? Is this the form you've been chasing?" Then says it doesn't look that way, and Asalis explodes, screaming "shut up," as she rockets into a savage attack. She roars "Dragon Hammer," and hammers down, the shot snapping to a tight close-up as the blow slams into its mark. Her fist rockets out, a thunderous shockwave erupts as Ghosh counters. The devastating technique slams into him, and he blocks it. Asalis' jaw drops, stunned at how absurdly strong he's become, and a cold doubt claws at her. Has she actually grown weaker? She curses, frustration snapping, as the realization slams into her. In the aftermath, a cellist lies collapsed on the ground, utterly defeated. The camera soars overhead, revealing the whole restaurant locked in a dramatic hush as Lord Flark strides forward, declares himself lord of the Nargud territory, and asks Gosh to accept the captaincy of their knighthood. While Masha of the Duke's family beams that she always watches Uncle Gosh's streams and cheekily invites him to tea at their castle sometime. A fan bursts out, breathless with excitement, begging for a collab on the next stream while a chaotic tide of others clamors to cut in with their own requests. Grudo rips everyone's attention, every eye snaps to him. He steps forward, takes full responsibility, declares flatly that no matter the circumstances he allowed this debacle to slip into the mix, then drops into a deep, sincere bow of apology. Someone hunts for Ghosh as the commotion finally dies away. A ripple of people spilled toward the exits. She smirks, declaring Asalis used to be her boss. After that chaos, she's dead certain he finally learned his lesson. She confesses she feels the wounds of those who suffered, and voice raw, begs them to find it in their hearts to forgive him. Three faces tighten. Melvis, Ghosh, and Misery absorb the request, tension coiling in every jaw. They locked hands, sealing the agreement and erasing every old grudge. The camera pulls back to a wide restaurant shot as the room erupts in relieved cheers and the tense standoff melts away into calm. Later, jammed into the Chartra Rose VIP room, the group buzzes. One wonders what Mr. Gold wants. Another grins it's a thank you gift. Someone panics it's about paying for the plate they broke, and Misery snaps at Gosh that he worries too much. A staffer bursts in, breathless and frantic, apologizing for keeping them waiting. Grudo gushes thanks again for their help when the restaurant was barely holding together. Gosh, known as Misery, shrugs and insists it was nothing. Grudo pivots and slams down a shocking offer. Will they allow the shop to become Golden Sun's sponsor? Shock explodes through the group. Gosh brushes it off with quiet humility, insisting he won't go that far for them. Grudo snaps back, saying this isn't just a thank you for what happened before, it's something far deeper. He declares the restaurant's real need, the finest hunting meat. He parades vivid visuals of prime cuts and hypes the deal live on subjugation streams. If Ghosh hauls in monsters fit for the kitchen, Grudo will give them first pick to buy before anyone else. He reassures them the contract covers every contingency. Grudo fired the question at Gosh. Gosh's voice faltered as he admitted he could see the value, but warned they'd only just launched their business. Misery bursts out, urging Ghosh. This offer would be a crime to refuse, we have to take it. Then she cuts herself off mid-gush. Ghosh lunges to interject, calling for his mother, and Melvis calmly lays down the truth. Whoever you are, anyone would light up if this was the first time someone wanted to support them. She presses on. Streamers have to embrace the rush of people desperate to support them, and she turns to Ghosh, hunting for a nod. Ghosh's brow knotted, jaw tightening, a storm of thought gathering behind his eyes as her words sank in. He seals his decision, thanks them with overflowing gratitude, and declares he's eager to get to work with them. They're about to bolt out of the Charlotte Rose lobby when a voice pierces the air, begging, "Please wait." Gotch cuts off his apologies and snaps, "I have to tell you something now." Melvis urged Ghosh to speak, and Ghosh choked out that he'd been dying to tell her that one thing all along, but he couldn't even bring himself to comment. Words jammed in his throat. He faltered, pausing again and again. Ghosh, chest-pounding, poured out his deepest, most honest gratitude for her song. Melvis pours out a heartfelt thanks and vows she'll keep singing. Ghosh and Melvis's silhouettes loom together, trading a wordless, electric exchange that says everything. The maid pleads, "Mr. Gotch, don't leave me behind," and someone apologizes for the delay. Misery materializes, grinning at the scene, then turns to her sister, bids farewell, and promises they'll see her later. Melvis lingered, a grin tugging at his lips as he said this was going to be a great guild. Outside Chartra's at night, someone muttered that the social gathering had been hectic, and Gosha nodded, saying he still had to thank Weiss again for giving him the opportunity. Gotch smirked and jabbed the air toward Misery's sister, asking, "Did you see that fierce determination in her eyes?" Misery bristled, defensive. "I was just trying to show my gratitude," then snapped. "Admiring Melvis is fine, but she's our rival, they can't afford to lose either." Gotch roars, "We'll give it our all." Misery grins, "That's the spirit," and a sinister figure suddenly materializes. They mutter that they've found their target. Then someone gasps, eyes wide as Ryukyu strides straight toward them. Boom, the massive reveal slams the armored figure into view as it charges forward, closing the gap with thunderous steps. Electric tension seizes the air as the three figures lock eyes and square off. The scene snaps wide, exposing a tiny, childlike figure sprawled on the ground. Later, the beast-eared girl Gosh we met on the way home from the restaurant was thriving. A sharp flashback crashes in. Gosh began as a backwoods farmer, but after he exterminated a top-ranked dragon, the world saw his true power, and now he's the mightiest. A staff member rushes in, eyes blazing, and shouts, "You're awake, Roko." She pressed a thankful hand to her chest, said the restaurant couldn't take her, so they escorted her to their quarters, cut to 3 stunned reaction shots. Shock snaps through the room as everyone scrambles to process it. Roko answers, hesitation rattling every syllable. Roko storms up and pleads with Gosh to teach her Shishinanganryu. Gosh points out she's a beastkin who probably knows more than he does, and Roko, voice raw with desperation, insists no beastkin can use it. She needs to learn even this single technique. Gosha steps forward, vowing to help. He resolves they'll try the basic levitation technique. Rocco crashes to his knees, desperation blazing in his eyes as he begs him to take her as his apprentice. Gosh snaps to attention, launches into instructions and barks, "I'm pushing, catch it." A massive action scene explodes as levitation training rages, trainees launching into the air to test their limits. A frantic shout rips through the air, something terrible is happening. Someone shouts that Beastkin kid's gone. Gosh bellows everyone to breakfast now that the whole crew's here. Someone ribs Misery for being a total sleepyhead. The panel slams into a giant close-up of Roko while a tiny inset shows them digging in. Roko stands and says, "I'm Roko," and gosh, or was it Misery? Thanks her for watching their streams. Roko beams that she found the two through their streams and never misses one. When someone asks how Gosh is teaching when she gushes, "Master is incredible at teaching." Gosh waves it off modestly, saying being called Master is a bit much. Someone gasps when Gosh blurts he learned the technique by watching Yagari stream, and Roko smiles, dropping the bomb. Yagari's her grandpa. A sympathetic voice chimes in that Roko doesn't have to explain it that way. And Roko admits Grandpa tore through the old documents but couldn't recreate the technique, so his teaching ends up maddeningly nonsensical. Roku nods, makes sense, while another hails Gosh as a true genius. Then Roku shrugs and reveals Master merely picked it up during morning training. Outside, a scattered crowd hangs in the clearing as Roko strides forward and reveals dozens are lining up to learn from Gosh. They thought cornering him as a mob would be rude, so she came alone. Roku drops into a sweeping, dramatic bow, voice cracking, as he proclaims they're counting on him and pleads for his help. Misery crackles with excitement, exclaiming how amazing it is to be recognized by the main school of the Four God source style, and Gosh bows humbly, voice soft as he admits he's flattered. On a vast, thunderous stage, Roko roared that her master was the Four Gods' hope in source style, and dropping to one knee, formally petitioned Ghosh to take her as his disciple. Gosha steps up, vowing he'll help wherever he can. Roko replies with heartfelt thanks. Someone pipes up that Lokachan's way of speaking is completely one of a kind. They froze, nose twitching, and hissed. "Feels like a mouse has been here since yesterday." Roku blinked. "Mouse?" They snapped. "No, I mean not a mouse." Instead, it slams you with a nostalgic scent, the past crashing back in a single inhale. Ghosh points out the shop opens at the crack of dawn. They turn to Loco-chan and ask to crash there for a while. Roko lights up, exclaims it'd be amazing, and thanks them. The next day bursts into a wind-whipped meadow on the edge of the royal capital, and the narrator crackles. The stream is about to begin. Gotch bursts into the chat, greeting everyone with electric enthusiasm as Gotch of the streaming guild Golden Sun. Then Misery beams in as Misery, cheerfully urging everyone to dive into another cheerful stream today. The stream interface blazed, 568999 viewers. As a torrent of comments crashed in, fans said they came back to watch today. Others said they heard about the sponsorship on Charles' stream. Viewers poured out congrats for yesterday's report stream about the sponsorship, and even the songstress Melvis made a report video about it. Gosh, or Misery, throws a huge, heartfelt thank you to everyone for the warm comments, confesses they can't reply to every single one right away, but says those messages fire them up, then dives straight into the stream and teases. Today's got an adorably cute guest. Chat explodes with "Who's that?" As Misery shouts with giddy excitement that it's Roko-chan of the Beastkin tribe. The stream floods with "So cute." And another surprise guest, while viewers buzz, wondering if Misery's fired up. The room erupted in whispers. Could Roko be the new recruit? Roko grinned, blamed sleepyhead Misery for making them late, and someone else pressed Misery to announce the project soon. The hosts announced Loco-chan would only be observing the stream for now, but someone piped up that they should make her their newest member, and Roko let out a tiny, surprised squeak. The hosts steel themselves, lock eyes, and unveil today's project with a roar. A massive banner explodes into view announcing they'll try to cook a giant boar, and Gosh instantly spots the lettering. It's backwards again. Again, Misery barrels in, grinning, announcing they'll hunt some ingredients first. The chat explodes, people shout that over 50,000 viewers for a cooking stream is insane. Viewers ask if they're hunting just any old boar, while one commenter points out wild boars are B-rank dangerous monsters and wonders if everyone has lost their sense of danger. Others call it a pretty chill stream and ask if they're talking about a wild boar or something. A viewer notes the cooking stream starting with hunting the ingredients, and Misery declares they're going after a great boar. Chat erupted. Viewers froze, asking if that meant the A-ranked great boar and whether two people could even bring it down. Gosh dove into a mouth-watering tale about eating at Chartra restaurant, saying the food blew his mind so much he wondered if he could capture that flavor at home. But he admits it won't match Chartra and urges everyone to stop and buy Chartra themselves, which earns a viewer's jab that he's the model streamer who never forgets to plug his sponsors. Gotch explodes that he's heard the nearby restaurant farms are being ravaged by giant boars, and then Misery, or maybe Gotch, shouts, already spotting one. Gosh slams the signal and roars the hunt is on, confirming they'll move out exactly as planned. A colossal boar looms, tusks bared, throwing the group into a heart-pounding standoff. Gosh declared, steel in his voice, he wouldn't allow another raid on the farm. He sizes up the charging boars. If their tackle connects, there's no way he can withstand it. He bellows that he'll wield it as his strategy. Later, scattered notes surface, unmasking techniques born of the four divine beasts. The boar's face explodes into a dramatic close-up. Ghosh's gaze hardens, every muscle coiling for the strike. Then he bellows, celestial comet sea break. Either the boar or a stunned onlooker gasps at the aftermath as the giant boar's head looms like a wrecking ball. Gotch spits a furious curse. Misery yells, "Run, Roko." Roko jerks in surprise and blurts, "1, 2, 3." She clocks the moment, snaps a bone-crunching kick into the boar, and Gosh and Misery reel back, mouths dropping in stunned disbelief. The stream chat freezes, then explodes as viewers fixate on Roko's feat, yelling that beastkin are supposed to be insanely strong, but this smashes every expectation. Others say she's way too powerful and should just be a guest, and one user blurts out she's a beast girl with terrifying strength. Rocco hoists the captured boar as chat erupts, calling her amazing. Misery signs off with a smile, declaring the ingredients safely secured, and that's it for today, then teases everyone to tune in for tomorrow's cooking stream. Gotch throws out a trembling apology to Rocco for botching the finale. Misery roars praise for Rocco's insane strength and points out the comments section went totally wild. And Rocco steels herself as she processes every comment aimed at her. Two people stand rooted, silence crackling like a live wire between them. The next morning, Misery bursts in, greeting everyone and announcing that with Gosh off on a mission, she's commandeering the kitchen with Rocco today. Rocco offers a shy hello, and a viewer pipes up about the two of them in aprons. "Are so precious," Misery reveals. "This is meat from a great boar soaked in wine to tenderize it." She asks Rocco if she can pound it to make it even softer, and Rocco nods. Rocco steels herself, then hammers the meat with thunderous blows. The scene detonates with intense dramatic action. The meat is completely destroyed and pulverized. Roku rushes out an apology to Misery. Stream viewers erupt that the whole thing is just not okay and way too intense. And Misery grins, saying it actually made it just right for turning into a hamburger. A viewer roars approval for the slick recovery. Misery snaps at Rocco to wipe the dirt off fast and blast into the next part. Gosh booms that he's home. Misery threw open the door and welcomed Gosh home. Rocco, face aflame with embarrassment, admitted she'd gotten a little too excited. Gosh stared at the mess and demanded, "What happened?" Half wondering if someone had attacked them as a live stream comment popped up. Misery welcomes Gosh back. Rocco winced, voice tight, and confessed she couldn't be of much help. Chat explodes as viewers call the scene indecent yet enviable. Others note Misery's clumsy side has vanished and wonder if the old man can even stomach their cooking. Gosh admits they gave it everything. And Misery beams that everyone's fired up, hailing Rocco's clutch assist and urging fans to check out the incredible meal the two of them cooked later. Viewers gush that the kindly old man used to be a farmer and clamor to try the vegetables he grew, while Misery parades out coarse-ground great boar hamburgers served with Mr. Gosh's vegetables. The group tenses, forks poised for battle. The final shot rips to a split screen on Rocco and Gosh, both ravenous as they devour the meal. Gosh grins and says that with the stream and the meal finished, he's darting off to check the cooking. And Misery scans the comments and says Rocco's already pretty popular. Misery exhales, drained, vows to rest well and bids everyone good night. Gosh answers with a quiet good night of his own. They trade quick goodbyes as Gosh catches Rocco's troubled look flickering again. Misery points out the stream showed nothing odd, so Gosh decides to pull Rocco aside for a bit, asks Misery to handle the dishes, and she eagerly agrees. Gotch spots Rocco perched on the roof, the exact place she'd been, and Rocco jumps, eyes widening in stunned surprise. She whispered, "Master," and Rocco fired back that she only wanted to steal a few moments to stare at the moon. Gosh nods, understanding clear. Rocco's voice tightens as she confesses she must apologize to him, and Gosh leans in, curiosity burning, asking what she means. He questions why she would need to apologize to him, and Rocco plunges into a confession. She says that about 6 months ago, she watched a stream and saw someone there. Her face crumples with the memory as the flashback cuts to armored Ryukyu and a stunned Gosh from that fateful stream. Rocco keeps explaining, eyes sparkling, how she just learned to converse with minor spirits and plunged into streams like a thrill-seeker. Each one a whole new world of wonder, pure fun. And a snapshot freezes her then, buzzing with energy, as she notes she was watching that very stream too. Rocco admits everyone blamed Master, and she believed it too. Her face steels with fierce resolve and a sting of regret as she confesses she sent the comment. She snaps again that she sent it. A shadow-drenched, cinematic reveal peels back to expose her words, and it's the worst. Gosh's face flickered into view as Roko pressed on, saying that after that Grandpa exploded at her, and Yajiri hammered home a brutal lesson. Never assume you know everything just from what you see. Yajiri presses the point, slamming home that you must never judge who someone truly is by their appearance. Roku explains she tore through Gosh's past streams, binge-watching hours until a startling realization slammed into her. Gosh lowers his eyes as Roko delivers her verdict. Anyone who can wield the Shishin and Ganryu for the right reasons is no villain. Roko drops into an apologetic bow, admitting she wanted to say sorry, but the moment she sees Master, the moment she sees Gosha's face, her voice dies, and that comment she sent to Master back then still won't disappear. In a massive, heart-rending scene, Roko collapses into sobs and screams. Why did I ever do that? At last she explodes into an apology, gasping that she's sorry to Gosh. He folds into empathy and admits he's the same. Rocco reels in surprise as Gosh admits he's been tormented by his own words and actions, replaying them over and over. The other day he forced Asali silent again, and he aches that if he'd confronted Asali sooner things might have turned out different. A tight close-up on Gosh's eyes flashes hard-earned understanding as he says, yes, he's going to truly face them. He swallows hard and admits that staring down his own actions instead of fleeing is the kind of strength he needs to learn. Gosh locks eyes with Roko and declares her unbreakable determination and fierce feelings gave him the courage to stand, then bows and thanks her, truly and sincerely. Roku's chest hammered as she hurled her master's name into the air, raw emotion tearing through her voice. Misery bursts onto the roof, spots them and demands, is this where the two were? Gosh and Roko sit together as Gosh leans in, I have to ask you about Loco. And Misery shoots back that she was probably about to say the exact same thing. Two tight close-ups slam Misery and Gosh into frame as their eyes lock, and a silent understanding ignites between them. A sweeping wide shot slams onto the rooftop. All three stand there, Roko planted squarely in the middle. Gosh and Misery locked eyes, and in a single thunderous voice, asked Roko if he wanted to join Golden Sun. Rocco's face crumpled into stunned, raw emotion, her voice cracking as she gasped, is that really okay? The scene snaps to a pair of shadowy eyes, piercing the night and locked on us from somewhere in the darkness. The tale rockets on. The humble country farmer is now hailed as the strongest after slaying Roko, the highest-ranked dragon, and Roko is about to be officially inducted into the guild with a grand introduction, while whispers claim Master Yajiri lent a hand. The person they're talking to says Roko told them but swears they did nothing. A guild member looks back. Roko stared down her flaws and sprang into action, and Sir Gosh refused to coddle her, meeting her head-on, which changed everything, and the guild member says they're truly grateful. A martial arts instructor suddenly bursts out to confess what he'd been holding back. Thanks to Gosh, he discovered the dazzling Shishin in Gen Ryu, and now he unleashes a precise, thunderous demonstration of its breathing technique. Gosh shoots back that he's the one who should be thanking them. The instructor lights up and says those words make every hour of streaming worth it, then pleads for him to keep carrying the school's name around the world. And Gosh vows he'll give it everything he's got. Best, suddenly a voice snaps at Gosh, we've got to cut him off. A figure reels in shock, yelling, what happened? A blinding flash rips through the scene. Gosh wrestled with telling Roku, then swallowed the secret to spare them needless worry, leaving a tight knot of doubt. Will things really be okay? Later that evening, the stream kicks off. Roko bursts in, announcing she's about to give a room tour of the Golden Sun base. A teammate invites everyone to explore it with their new member Roko-chan, and the chat explodes with reactions to her joining and a tidal wave of viewers desperate to see the base's interior. Why are we doing this at night? It's way too dark. Someone demanded. Roku admitted the place was dim and begged everyone to bear with him, announced they'd start at the reception, then led them into the lounge where the guild emblem blazed on the wall, and someone blurted, why did the last guild ever give this up? Another person leaned in and said it was a hot property among the big guilds, spacious and fully furnished. Everyone wanted it, but there's a catch. The atmosphere turns dark. They warn the place has a fearsome reputation. She practically bursts with the news. There have been tons of ghost sightings. Then the truth slams in. It's stigmatized property, and chat erupts, calling today's stream a full-on test of courage. Even the managing association staff who stayed overnight returned with nothing to report, nothing unusual. And the records show no deaths here in the past. One guild member confesses they haven't laid eyes on anything that could be called a ghost either. So maybe the spirits are gone, they're not actually sad, but now they itch to see one. They burst into the meeting room as the character announced they put together a midnight room tour. betting that exploring the rooms together after dark would unearth something. Slicing through the facility, they head to the cafeteria at Misery's suggestion, and a Roko member's gaze snaps to Sensei. He looks eerily drained, no spark in him today. Suddenly, skulls explode into view in a burst of horror, and someone shouts, "Is Ghosh possessed?" Someone snaps, "Who said you could make that pun?" Tension tightens as another hisses, "Wait, is something really behind him?" Gosh blinks, baffled, and fires back, "Don't start with that." Ghosh roars, "There it is." And someone else snaps, "He's just putting on a convincing act." Acting, a skeletal specter rips into the hallway, the other ghosts reel back, eyes wide with raw terror. Roku peers into the gloom and asks if something's there, though her eyes betray she can't see it. Gosh snaps back, roaring, "You can't see it either." Everyone else stares at an empty hallway. Roko's animal senses flare. She sniffs and says she can probably tell what's down there by the smell. She tore after it as a guildmate roared that anyone who hurts the master will not be forgiven, and ordered everyone to give chase. The stream chat explodes. Everyone's yelling it's getting insanely intense even though they can't see a thing as the chase tears through the facility. Roku surged forward and unleashed a devastating strike that slammed into the skeleton ghost. Fangs bared and fur bristling, she slams a full force strike, the ghost reeling and howling as the blow blasts it backward. The impact smashed them through the floor as Misery's magic ripped the boards apart. She immediately apologized about the mess. Gosh gasped, "Are you okay?" And she shot back, "I'm fine, but more importantly." The floor gave way, a treasure chest lay exposed beneath it, and the stream exploded with comments joking it was the find of the century. The skeleton ghost snapped upright, shrieking at them not to touch that. It lunged, snatching them and pinning them tight as the captured person screamed, "Let go of me now." Shock slammed into Misery as one of them snapped, "Leave it here," and another let out a raw, terrified scream. Gosh roared for Misery to haul the treasure chest over, and Misery answered with ironclad determination. The skeleton ghost snaps its bony arms into a defiant X, desperately shielding something. Someone, furious at how everything spiraled, barks, "Cut it out already." The stream chat explodes as viewers react. One hails it as masterful staging while another screams, "Poltergeist." The skeleton ghost lashes out with terrifying power, its crossed bones emblem blazing as a poltergeist storm explodes, hurling people across the room. When the dust finally settled, Gosh crumpled to the ground, breath ragged, a tiny skull-shaped ghost bobbing at his side as he croaked a vow to return the treasure chest. He was unharmed. 3 guild members stand shoulder to shoulder against the skeleton ghost. Gosh steps forward and roars that it mustn't lay a hand on anyone else. Let it come for him. Gosh hurls the treasure chest into the skeletal ghost's bony hands. The ghost bows, hollow eyes flickering in acknowledgement. The skeletal ghost's face fills the panel with a furious glare as it bellows at Gosh, barking idiot for stating the obvious. It's see-through, so Gosh immediately gasps, "I'm so sorry." After the dust settled, Misery snapped that the ghost could have just levitated it with telekinesis. The skeleton ghost conceded it made sense, and another ghost apologized again, owning up to being wrong now and before, and anxiously asked if the skeleton was okay. The skull looms in darkness. Someone asks if what's inside is safe. The skeletal ghost jerks its bony hands in a frantic gesture, and Ghost observes he gets the feeling they can communicate with it. A witness declares the ghost is exactly what it seems, a kind spirit. The open chest reveals treasures swaddled in careful cloth. Someone exhales, stunned that everything somehow looks okay. The whole crew clustered together with the skeleton ghost looming in the background. He rasped that the fuss had drained him hollow, so he declared they end the stream and take a break. They gawk stunned as the scene snaps to a room where everyone sits around a skeletal ghost in the center. The skeleton declares, "I am the ghost who lives here," then asks, "Any questions?" Rocco leans over the open chest, eyes scanning every trinket as he asks what this treasure is. The skeleton ghost croaks that this is what it's collected, an adventurer's costume and a pair of children's block shoes. The skeleton ghost hoists a lantern and spills the tale. A freak accident ended its life, and ever since it stood guard over the treasure to keep thieves away. A guildie scoffs that it's a nightmare when every guild has that one person with uncanny intuition, and someone blurts, "So every previous tenant ran into the ghost." Misery finally spots the ghost who's been peeking into their lives, admits she got lost in the stream and missed it. Someone spits that a silent watcher is messed up. The ghost simply admits it. Misery snaps with fury, and the skeleton ghost fires back that Misery riffling through their gossip-filled streams is just as bad. The skeleton ghost snarls that Misery should be more ashamed and that it's not into human women. The second it says human, Misery and Roko go pale, jaws dropping. The skeleton ghost bursts into gleeful exclamation, telling Roko she's exactly right. Someone points out the person is probably a beastman, and the skeleton ghost practically vibrates with joy. It grinned, saying it might even hand Roko some treasure, then exploded with joy at meeting a beastman again, calling it a miracle since the ghost can't leave the barracks. A guild member scoffs that the ghost is practically handing it over as the spirit extends the relic like an offering, but someone steps back, voice shaking. I can't accept something this sacred. Gosh snaps that Roko will head home sooner or later. Why not hand this to her family when she does? Roko locks eyes with the ghost and demands its family name. A tight close-up traps the skeleton ghost's face. Two empty eye sockets like dark wells. Roku nods, comprehension washing over him, and the ghost confesses its memories died with it, promising to tell them the moment one returns. The skeleton ghost hoists a sake bottle and begs them to take it to old man Yajiri once it's had time to age, and Roko snaps. Does Grandpa even drink? The ghost confessed that old man Yajiri drank non-stop, then told him to wait while it hunted down some good sake. The skeletal specter hissed, Don't you dare drink it. Misery snapped, I'll be careful. And in that instant Yajiri lurched, clutching their back as a sharp, sudden pain ripped through it. Gosh squints, brow knitting, and blurts a sharp question about a bad back as the guild looks up to see old man Yajiri shuffle in. Someone calls his name, and Yajiri bows, apologizing for arriving early yesterday. He vows to support Roko properly, and a skeleton ghost roars at the old man, shouting that it's been a long time and that he's getting old with that bad back. The ghost hangs like a held breath, sees Yajiri totally oblivious, then bursts into a gleeful, urgent call to him. She leans in, eyes wide, and spills that she ran into a beastman ghost in the master's dorm. Yajiri snaps. What kind of ghost was it? The shot locks on Yajiri's face and profile as he digests the news. The adventurer who vouched for him has apparently stumbled on heavenly sake and will bring some back next time. Yajiri flares a questioning look, mind hunting for who this ghost could be and whether Roko really sees him, while Roko, with a soft sweep of her hand, says she can. It's only a skeleton, utterly dark and transparent. Yajiri said he couldn't wait to taste that drink. They tore down the stairs together, the rattling skeleton ghost, Roko, and Misery. Misery said Yajiri-san looked happy. Someone else guessed from the looks of it Yajiri-san probably knew the ghost, and the skeleton ghost shot back it didn't, insisting plenty of people would want to offer the old man's sake. The shot slams into the skeleton ghost's hand as it reaches out, prayer beads coiling around the bony wrist. Roko's eyes snap to them, a hot jolt of recognition telling her she's seen those beads before. 15 days later, we snap to Graham Kingdom's front gate. Misery breathes easy, with Ghost Sand guarding the dorms. He can disappear for days and not fret about the vegetables. The skeleton ghost pumps its bony fists, thrilled to be useful, as the group reaches their destination beneath the Kingdom Gate's towering stone arch. Roko spots someone already waiting. The S-rank dungeon they're tackling demands an escort from a high-ranking adventurer, and someone wonders who it will be this time. Suddenly, two adventurers burst into view with their massive beast companions, colossal feline giants that tower over the whole group. Sema barrels in with Sigurd at her side, locks onto Roko and blurts, Loko-chan? Roko's eyes shoot wide in surprise. Gosh calls to Sigurd, It's been a while, and Roko replies with a polite, puzzled hello. Clearly not recognizing them, he gapes. Gosh strides forward, calls him Sema, and says it's been a while. Then surveys the scene and scoffs that bringing a woman and child into an S-rank dungeon for a picnic means he's living it up as an A-rank adventurer. When a lone old farmer from the countryside single-handedly slaughtered a dragon, the world finally witnessed his unstoppable power. Now the highest-ranking party charges into Laguna Forest, the S-rank dungeon. Sama hurls, What were you doing in Laguna Forest? And her eyes snap wide when Gosh actually speaks up on his own. Gosh says he was just trying to gather Prania flowers. Sama sneers, You're picking flowers. Do you even know what this place is? It's called the Forest of Lost Souls. SEMA calls it a dungeon where the trees shift and swallow paths, turning landmarks worthless. Many adventurers have probed its depths, but no one knows how far it truly stretches. Sema shoots back at Gosha's question about the next stream, cool and confident. That's all in the textbook. Gosh confirms they were plotting the next stream. Misery explodes with excitement about hunting a super-rare plant. They all talk over the Prania flower, a bloom that shows up in a different place every year and is famed as a rare ingredient. Someone asks if Chartra sent the request, and Gosh snaps that this one's for him. Goshu grinned, declaring he'd turn the flower's impossibly sweet nectar into sweets, and the narrator noted the cooking stream after the material gathering was met with cheers. Gotch rallied Roko, then caught the shadow in her eyes and asked what was wrong. Roko admitted she's terrified she'll fail again, and Gotch vowed he'd help next time too so they'd tackle it together. On screen, Gotch is elbow-deep in work, while Roku's imagination paints Goshu in an apron. Misery reads the guidebook, alarm flaring as it warns anyone who steps into this forest gets hopelessly lost and can't get out. Gosh blanches, "That's bad," while Sama smirks, cool and confident. "I've got that covered too." Sama brandishes the sky spider's thread, a shimmering escape talisman, and breathes that tugging it will hurl them back to the dungeon entrance anytime, sending Roko and the others into stunned, hopeful silence. Sema snaps that she's gearing up, every move forged from the lessons she replayed from last time. Gosh leaned in and fired, "Have you ever been to the Laguna Forest?" And Sema grinned a few times. Gosh barked, "What kind of monsters are out there?" Misery said she'd already studied the known beasts with Loco, and Gosh grinned, slapping his palm. "Don't worry, there's no monster I can't beat." Goshu snaps, eyes blazing. He wants to seize every monster there, too. She snarls that even familiar monsters can flip on you, warns they're plunging into the beast's territory and can't be underestimated, then trusts that if Gosh is truly high rank, he'll handle it. The group nods to the warning. SEMA bellows they've reached their destination. The group freezes at the enchanted forest entrance, staring up at a colossal mystical seal pulsing across the gateway. The cart drivers and escorts holler they'll be waiting here, just like last time. Sema urges her animal companions to go see Gosh off too, sighs that she's already spilled so many words, then drops a final plea. Don't drag yourselves down by struggling in your own way. Gotch shot forward, leading the group with crackling enthusiasm and roaring, "Let's go." A sweeping, cinematic shot slams us straight into the mist-choked heart of the mystical forest. Two figures loom between the enchanted trees and shafts of light. Misery ignites the stream. I explode into Misery from Golden Sun, roaring a hello and declaring we're right now in Laguna Forest. A viewer pops into chat saying they're looking forward to today too. Misery declares their mission: hunt the legendary Prunia flowers that only bloom here, and the stream explodes. One viewer insists no other guild feels this safe, not even in an S-rank dungeon, while another fires off, "Can this be finished in one day?" Misery, or some hyped-up party member, lets out a whoop, locking onto a treasure chest already. Misery spins the treasure chest discovery into a live quiz, tosses the question to chat, who instantly crowns it a mimic, while one lone commenter insists other adventurers already looted it, and Misery gleefully devours every theory. Misery proclaims it's a treasure chest everyone wrote off as empty and abandoned, then she leans in and teases, "What's the right answer?" And Ghosh growls it could be a mimic. He roars at Misery to stop the trap, but the springs snap violently. Gosh and Roko surge into action as the scene explodes, people scattering and tumbling under the sprung trap. A stream viewer pipes up they actually don't dislike that assertiveness. Someone else scoffs, "Is this really the time to say that?" Misery swallows her pride and admits Mr. Mimic was absolutely right. The wide shot pulls back and slams the aftermath into view, debris strewn across the forest floor. Gosh pokes and sniffs a strange fruit he's never seen, curiosity crackling. Goshu's eyes light up as he recognizes a cluster of familiar vegetables. Roko smirks, spotting Master utterly caught up in the fun. Nostalgia claws at Gotch as the wild air wraps him like home, and he can't shake the question, are the villagers all right? Rocco suddenly blasted the alarm. The scene slams into the forest, webs plastering every tree, and a character's eyes lock on them as they scream a frantic warning about the spiderwebs. A flurry of motion erupts as someone spots the danger and fights to stay upright. Roko and Gosh freeze, shock ripping through them while huge impact lines and thunderous effects shove the threat into terrifying focus. A stream viewer spots the threat and yells, "It's a B-rank devil plant." The colossal plant monster erupts into view, towering over everything as every leaf and vine bristles with deadly intent. Roko's face hardens with iron resolve as she hangs in peril. A flurry of action shots throws us into her brutal struggle with the plant. Reaction shots hammer home the situation's severity. The live chat explodes, viewers roar that it's a spectacular escape. Someone snaps at Misery to hurry. Misery hangs heavy as a massive escape sequence erupts into chaos. Stream viewers argue if it's staged while others swear it's real, and Misery screams for help as danger closes in. A spiky plant creature explodes into a menacing close-up, thorns bristling like jagged teeth. The colossal spiked behemoth towered over them, menace crackling from its barbed hide, and Gosh erupted, roaring his technique, "For God's origin stream." He thrusts his hand skyward as the technique snaps to life. igniting a massive action sequence where cascading power tears through panel after panel, impacts ratcheting toward a crushing climax before Gosh roars the final name, Ascension. As the strike explodes and the threat collapses, Gosh orders Misery to keep her sword drawn. Monsters can be waiting anywhere, and Misery apologizes for. Her earlier carelessness hangs heavy as chat explodes with Loco-chan's watching. Another viewer points to his face and suggests he might have messed up on purpose, and Roko and Goshu watch the scene unfold. The chat explodes, comments pour in that the monsters are brutal. No regular viewer could ever reach this place. Streaming lets fans kick back at home, while Gosh and Roko plunge deeper into the wilds. A viewer screams that, true to form, Gosh is unstoppable, so everyone relaxes and soaks up the scenery as Misery cranks the stream into high gear for 137,579 glued-on viewers. Gosu fumed. He'd plucked countless Pernia flowers and still didn't have the real one, so he snapped. Is there an open clearing in this forest? Gosho beams, spotting the flowers basking in the sun and hoarding sweet nectar, then admits with a frustrated laugh that unless he can fly, he'll never get close enough to check. Back, Roku pleads for the master to fly her there, and Gosh shakes his head, declining. He can't do anything that dangerous. Goshu soars in a burst of dramatic effects to inspect the clearing himself. Gosh, his voice thick with worry, asks, "What's wrong?" Misery jolts as a sharp sting bites. She realizes the pain, and Roko shouts for Gosh to come over. Gosh's gaze snaps to the danger. He names them: savage Laguna goblins and creeping Laguna mushrooms. The shot slams into a close-up of cold. Menacing eyes fixed on them, Gosh goes white and snaps. We're surrounded. Movement panels explode as the party scrambles at the threat. A stream viewer yells it was a false alarm at first, and Gosh charges with fierce resolve, roaring how is he supposed to fight when blows come at him from every direction. The action sequence explodes as he strikes back at the assault with lightning-fast ferocity. Gosh barked for Misery to flatten out behind the massive tree. She hit the dirt instantly as he hissed that Roko couldn't pick her off with arrows from that high perch. Roko nods sharply, accepting the order. Gosh's face hardens as he calculates they'll be crushed if this keeps up, so he forges a plan to obliterate all the distant monsters in one strike. The unexpected explodes into the scene, sending everyone reeling in confusion. Shocked exclamations ripple out, and Gosh's features harden with worry. Goshu hurtles toward them, snapping, "What's wrong with you two?" A wave of bewildered faces crashes over the party as Misery is hit with sick regret. She should have known the moment Roko bolted. The wide shot yanks us back to find the party poisoned, collapsing around a cart piled high with mushrooms. Goshu's face drains to stone when he sees us coated in mushroom spores. He snaps that the poisonous dust saps your strength and cripples every movement. Laguna goblins shrug it off, so they'll be here soon. Misery's face twists with worry, screaming how dire this is as the narrator, or the looming Gosu, throws down a gauntlet. What will they do? Chat erupts in panic. One viewer screams for Gosh and Missouri to wake up. Another spots Roko missing from the frame but vows she'll show. Someone howls, "Rescue them." And the narration confirms both Gosh and Missouri are paralyzed by the monster's poison. Gosh's brain bolts through possibilities. They must flee now with the heavenly spider's thread. If Roko can hold her breath for a beat, she can slip it from Missouri's bag. The catch, only Missouri knows how to wield the escape item. Gosh sizes it up and decides it's still possible. Having committed to leave it to Roko, they hold their ground while Aubert, outside the poison zone, screams to SCMA. "At this rate, we're all going to be wiped out. Help them now." Sema held herself aloof, snapping that their creed was simple. Witness, never interfere. If the party falls, that's all they're worth. Aubert's voice tore through the chaos, screaming for Gosh to get up. Gosh's eyes snapped open, resolve igniting. He was ready to counterattack. Poison claws at his muscles, tying his movements in knots. Yet he drags himself into a defiant stance and snarls so fierce the approaching monsters hesitate. A gigantic Laguna mushroom lurches toward him as the stream chat explodes. One viewer sneers, "Gosh is gonna fight this old man up close," while another yells for Gosh to beat the creature to a pulp. The mushroom monster barrels in, and Gosh knows he can't fend it off in time. Rocco's pulse spikes as she wrestles with the crisis. She knows the spores must be neutralized first. A brutal dilemma slams her. Hesitate and she'll be left at a disadvantage. Act and she'll draw the spores into her lungs. So Roko rockets into the fray, engaging the creatures even as the spores threaten to choke her. She's so numb she can't even run the stream. Even if she somehow swallows and wrangles the spores, the numbness won't lift, and a viewer on the feed spots the danger. A B-ranked Laguna amoeba barrels into the scene, pure deadly menace. Another viewer howls in outrage as it zeroes in on Misery, who can't move. Roko fights like a maniac, throwing herself at the creature and screaming for it to get out of her way. The stream chat explodes into noise. One viewer snaps that the whole thing is disgustingly vulgar. Roko screams as the amoeba lunges, its savage assault siphoning her strength by the second. She fights for every breath as a life-draining monster glares at her from their observation point. Ober's voice trembled as he asked if this was bad, confessing he feared it might be the final chapter for the Golden Sun Guild. His companion snapped at him not to speak such omens, but Ober tore away the illusion and laid out the grim reality. A monstrous lagunar amoeba has latched onto Misery, siphoning her life force. Her slight physique means it will take about a day to drain her completely. Sema demands why Obert's rushing. Obert pushes back and Sema snaps. If it takes a day, that just gives us time to fight back. They stand in the scenic mountain landscape. Obert thinks to himself that he doesn't think he can get along with Sama. Ghost roared at the creature, "Let go." He tears free and lashes out, only to discover his strikes lack the momentum to slice through the amoeba's formless mass. Missouri will die if he doesn't destroy the amoeba now. Realization slams into Ghosh, a close-up on his eye as it snaps wide, and he erupts into a devastating strike that crushes the lagunar amoeba under overwhelming force. A memory explodes in Gotch. Roko's vine maneuvers from earlier click into place. He taught her to spin up a tornado during the exam review, and if he rides the vines, he can do it without ever touching the ground. A flashback hits, Gotch demonstrating the move and barking for Roko to whirl and summon the vortex as she gapes at his raw power. And back in the present, they roar each other's names. Gotch roars, use the great wheel technique. Rocco unleashes the move, vaulting through the air in a furious spin and ripping a colossal tornado into existence. A blast rips through the forest clearing, shredding trees, and flinging debris with brutal force. A stream viewer explodes in cheers as the amoeba finally shakes off its misery, and the creature splits away. The grip snaps off and Missouri stumbles free. Roko rushes to her, voice sharp as he asks how she feels. Missouri admits she's still a little numb but can move now. The party scans the forest and a viewer on the stream pipes up, "Where'd Gosh go?" They surged forward into an empty forest, mushroom creatures swarming the party as debris tore through the air. Roko planted her feet, clenched her sword, and roared her technique, "For God's origin stream." She rips the sky open with a violet flash, catapulting debris and creatures outward in every direction. A blinding explosion of light ripped across the battlefield. Someone, either Misery or a panicked stream viewer, screamed for Gosh to hurry back. A viewer crowed that only the old man could handle an all-directional onslaught like this, and Misery stood trapped as mushroom creatures swarmed in around her. Rocco bellowed that evening had fallen, then tore the air open with yet another technique. Calling out Earth Barrier, they unleash a defensive spell that detonates into an explosive shockwave, tearing across the battlefield. Missouri grits her teeth and tells herself there isn't a single second to look away. Combat closes in around her. Chaos detonates across the forest floor. A viewer watching the stream gasps they blinked, and Roko vanished. The battle blurs through the forest's suffocating darkness. Blow after blow pummeling the ground as Roku darts and weaves with deadly precision between the mushroom creatures. Roko crashes down like a meteor, hurling himself back into the main battle. The reunited party locks shoulder to shoulder, a united wall planted in the heart of the combat zone. Mushrooms littered the ground around them, caps bobbing like tiny sentries. Ghosh leans in and asks Missouri if she's all right. Missouri explodes with energy, claiming she can report his activities from the perfect angle. Ghosh interrupts to say he wasn't talking about the stream, but if she's okay, he's relieved. Then he praises Roko, telling her she did well. Battle ripped through the forest clearing, leaving defeated monsters sprawled and scattered across the ruined ground. Roku throws her arms up, relief roaring through her voice as she announces she finally pulled it off. After the dust settles, the party huddles for a tense post-battle debrief. Missouri swallows her pride and apologizes, confessing that her being trapped kept them from escaping. Goshid winces and admits he should have checked how to use the items. Roko pipes up, asking them to teach her now too if they don't mind. Fine, Gosh agrees. Missouri nods and confirms she understands. A stream viewer types a grateful thanks for their consideration. Gosh faces the chat and announces a pause. He's putting the stream on break and tells everyone to take one too. Hearts and smiling emojis flood the interface during the break. Missouri sinks into a sun-drenched forest stream, letting the cool water cradle her as towering trees and lush greenery stand like silent guardians. After the battle, Roko gags, swatting away the clinging, slimy amoeba residue, and Gosh nods sharply, warning her not to let her guard drop too much. Gosh replayed the fight, praising the earth barrier as pure genius. He'd assumed Roko's martial arts would handle it, but she shocked him. Roko shrugged that she'd come up with it on the spot, and Gosh even joked the barrier could wipe out the cutworms in the fields back home. Missouri declares she's diving into the stream chat to check the comments right now. Missouri gasps and sinks beneath the bathwater, cheeks burning as she reads the comments erupting for Gosha and the others' exploits while her bathing scene is ignored, and she winces that her own disgrace has become the crowd's real thrill. Mortified, she inwardly begged to burrow into the floor and vanish. Missouri erupts, yanking up her sleeve to show the amoeba wounds are completely gone. She cries out in stunned surprise and Gosh blurts, "What's wrong?" Either Gotch or another party member gapes at the amoeba's unbelievable regenerative power and insists they haul the remains back for study. Then Gotch barks at Missouri to put some clothes on already. The party reels as the forest shifts beneath their feet again, desperate eyes scanning for the open patch they spied from the sky. Does it still sit nearby, or has the wood swallowed it? Ghosh finally admits he won't wreck the forest just to make a path, and a viewer, or a party mate, yells, "Cleave the trees, carve a corridor like a colossal boar." Misery hatches a plan. Use the sky spider's thread it shoots into the sky, so Gosh could climb up and confirm the location again, but Gosh snaps it's too expensive. He only has one. The party had plunged deep into the forest, and Missouri scanned the twisting shadows, mind racing. What's our next move? Roko's eyes snap to something. She suddenly yells for Gosh to come over, breathless with excitement about her discovery. As light punches through the dense canopy in quick, pulsing bursts, revealing a clearing ahead. The party storms into a dazzling sunlit clearing. Ghosh sniffs the honeyed air, studies the unmistakable petals and massive nectar pot, then snaps. "Prinia flower, Missouri," confirming his ID. Roko's jaw drops, amazement ripping through her at the discovery. The stream chat explodes, viewers shouting that Roko is excellent. One viewer types they caught a smug look on her face. Another vows to protect that smile. Everyone froze on Roko's triumphant grin as a viewer, or Missouri herself yelled they'd snagged the Brunia flower. Missouri cradled it like a treasure while Gosh warned her to pull it out gently or she'd squash the honeypot, snarled that the roots act like legs and must be tied tight before dropping the bloom into a water bottle. A chat voice crowed, "Mission accomplished." And Gosh, or another party member, suddenly asked, "What's that?" Misery throws back a laugh and drops the bomb. This broadcast is split into two parts. Missouri's hand snapped to her bag as its contents skittered and rattled. Alarm rockets through Roko, he snaps, "Earthquake," and the party screams for anything to grab as the ground convulses beneath their feet. Roko screams that something's coming as the ground detonates, ripping open beneath their feet, and Gosh roars for Misery and Roko to back off as danger surges up. The earth rips open, and a colossal beast rockets out, catapulting the party through the air as its monstrous form looms into view. The forest floor exploded as a titanic creature smashed through. Gosh barely scrambled to respond as the enormous beast reared up, a shocked cry ripping from him while Missouri's face froze in disbelief, and she blurted, "Why is this monster even in the forest?" A colossal, worm-like behemoth rears above the forest, its massive, segmented body dwarfing every tree. That's it for this video, guys. This translation ate up a ton of time. We're a brand new channel. Support us, hit subscribe, and let's see what comes next.